All right, good morning, everyone. We're about to proceed. Ms. Matias, we are live. We are recording, we are streaming. You may begin with today's executive review session. Mike,
Everybody,
ensure that your microphones are on.
Hold on. Mic's on. Mic's on. You see it? You see it? Oh. Carlo? Are we ready? No. Carlo? Where is he? Are we on? Are we on?
Can you hear?
It does appear
Can
to
you
be
hear us?
recording.
Oh, it is recording?
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Carlo had said.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's recording and being live streamed, so you may begin.
Okay. And can you hear the room? Can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay. I swear I didn't hear him say loud. Sorry. Do you want to give him a minute or start?
You can start.
Okay. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals review session for September 9th, 2025. We'll begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items, item number 16, 2022, 65 BZ, 2503, 2519 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. Applicant has submitted revised EAS and that document was sent to DOT. We also received recently, I think as of yesterday, we received comments from DOT regarding the submission, and applicant needs to respond to those comments. I believe the comments are related to, again, on the issues of arrival time of staff and departure time that's not been properly documented, and based on that, the modal split of the staff arrival, departure, and the student, and what would that result in additional vehicular traffic. So those need to be clearly identified. Applicant has been provided those comments. That's my understanding. However, I think we didn't receive any further comments from school safety. I think the recommendations that were made prior hearings still hold. Still, there has been no change to it. So I don't have any additional comments. I think based on the findings, I would consider the findings have been met, but the SECRA needs to be revised and addressed in order for this environmental review to be determined complete. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. I also agree with you. I believe the findings have been met and I have no further comments.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no comments.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I had been under the impression that the revised EAS contained survey results for modal
mode choice for elementary school students and for staff and middle school students. And we got
There
copies.
were some, Ms. Benke, you can provide better clarity
Yeah,
on this?
sorry, I just,
Yeah.
please clarify.
Yeah, we do believe it's in there. They might just be looking for a spreadsheet or the backup, like the individual responses from the elementary school. We had individual responses from the staff, individual, I believe, like a spreadsheet for the middle school. So I think the only thing they're looking for is the backup, but we're going to confirm, and the applicant's aware of this and they have the backup. So.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that clarification. I had no comments otherwise.
Okay. Thank you.
Go on.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 17, 2024-10BZ, 1679 63rd Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, so everybody please bear with me. I have a lot to say on this matter. So the initial hearing on this application was held on July of 2024 for a school to be located at the subject site, which is in a manufacturing district pursuant to special permit 73-133 and a variance for bulk regulations pursuant to 7221. During the initial hearing, board, while found the programmatic needs to be thorough and the need to be modest, the question was regarding finding D of the special permit, specifically traffic, school safety, vehicular circulation, noise attenuation, and if the proposed traffic generated by the school would have any adverse effect on the existing businesses in the immediate area. And this also then goes to the findings of C and E of 7221. DOT in its letter dated 8/24/2024 stated its concern about pedestrian safety due to existing incompatible land use in the vicinity, that the school must be safely accessible for pets at all times and in the future. And DOT went further to state that that the applicant should explore alternate locations for this school site. I won't get into the details of the letters. I'm sure you have all read the letter and follow-ups. I would start by saying that it is not for DOT to recommend regarding site selection. DOT's review is limited to finding D of the special permit. And during this period, the applicant did try to engage DOT and to address the site operational traffic flow, school safety concerns. DOT in its latest correspondence from June of 2025 stated that it had no additional comments and that the comments from 8/24/2024 letters stands. So with that in mind, the board needs to proceed with the information that we have received thus far from all our sister agencies and the applicant's response to the comments that has been raised thus far. Applicant has made several submissions since August of 2024, and the most recent one is from 6/18/2025, and which includes quite a detailed set of documentation of school safety. The revised plan is from, I think, 2/22/2025 submission, and the 6/18/2025 includes school safety mitigation measures, safety plan study, school safety alert to parents, and such. So I just kind of want to go over, since it's been such a long time, I want the public who are listening in to know exactly what is before us and how the board has taken it to this and where the board is moving from here onwards. So based on the school exists, but the school exists in a space which is sharing its space with another school, and it is growing. And the total projected growth from the current number is estimated to go from 307 to 623 students. And the school was also very clear that it does not offer any after-school program, and that shall be the situation going forward also in this proposed site. With regards to the site selection, we all felt, again, I think the conditions, the special permit findings of A, B, C have been met. It's the outstanding finding is D. So since there were a lot of concerns that was raised by DOT about the mismatch of the compatibility of uses, applicant provided a site study map. And it was prepared to highlight that there are other BSA-approved schools in the area and as of right, house of worships that are located in the proximate areas that are in M zoning districts. So I looked through the map and that was provided, and I want to go through each one of my comments. So page 11 of 149 from the submission date, the document that was submitted, there's a school safety plan that was submitted on 6/18/2025, page 11 of 149, figure 6. In that, the various sites are indicated. And in that, site number 5 and 2 are in R5 districts where schools are permitted as of right. So they should not be included in this discussion. I was not able to locate BSA resolutions for sites number 4, 8, 9, and 10. And also from my initial search, I would suggest that the applicant be very thorough in identifying locations because they should not be identifying uses which do not have valid permit to operate a school at the site or that are not legally conforming uses. So those should not be counted in this analysis. So please revise that and make your statement as to why, in this case, the context is changing, if that is the argument the applicant is trying to make, which to me was not very clear either. So the statement and the maps need to be revised. Applicant states that at its current location, it does use bus transportation. All its majority of its student uses buses to come to the school. And they have a very, they arrive in a staggered schedule. And there's a 2-hour window within which all the classes are brought to the site. And they have a very interesting way of bringing students. They bring students by grades, which is very different from other schools that we have studied, that we have reviewed before. And the applicant has provided a very detailed arrival and departure of each class by grade, and when the pickup time, when the from the school, when the pickup time from their home, also the drop-off time and the school has been provided by each grade, and the number of buses that is projected to be used based on the existing operation that the school has. So based on that, I thought it was very helpful and thorough. I do have some questions, and the questions are, the analysis is based on the current operation where majority of the students use school bus, and the measures that are in place at its current location will be implemented at the proposed site, including the picking up students by grade. Now, the applicant states that the current process allows for a swift transition of students from bus to lobby to classes and minimize students on the sidewalk. My question is, what is the estimated capacity of each school bus? And when I was looking at the time frames, I found the amount of time allocated for students for preschool was like 15 minutes turnover time, whereas for high school, for upper grades, they were allotted half an hour. So I just wanted to know why, because typically I would assume children, preschools, they would need more time to get up, get onto the bus, or even disembark the bus. So I would like some clarification as to why that window of 15 minutes versus half an hour for these different grades. The other question So the applicant is proposing two no standing zones, one on 62nd Street and another one on 63rd Street along the school frontage. This is a through lot site with a frontage on 62nd Street and 63rd Street, and the frontage is about 80-foot long. And the proposed hour of no standing zone is 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. So my questions are, the proposed no standing hours from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. is too extensive compared to the drop-off and pickup hours. There is no reason to extend beyond 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And there are similar schools the board has reviewed in the area where the similar hours of operations were maintained. So those need to be maintained. And my reason for stating that are as follows. Further, before I get into that, also regarding two no standing zones, one on 62nd Street and 63rd Street frontages, the school, according to its school safety plan, it was, the school safety plan was thorough. And in that, it did talk about the intensity of the uses, the curbside uses on 63rd Street, and a lot of parking, some legal, some illegal parking that are happening on 63rd Street. So I definitely do not see the justification for the bus stop on 63rd Street, especially when the when there will be a sign that will allow for standing for such a long duration, even if we reduce it to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, and if you maintain that 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., the businesses are almost not there. So nobody is going to have an oversight on that area. And those buses can be parked there overnight, and it will become a permanent bus parking spot. And that is not the intention. So therefore, I absolutely will not be convinced to allow a parking space, a bus loading and or bus holding, whatever you want to call it, a parking area on 63rd Street, and that there shall be no standing of any sign that should be posted there. It should be for the businesses that are located on 63rd Street that do require a lot of parking, and those that can be used for that purposes. So only the 62nd Street frontage should be used for bus drop-off pickup, and the sign and the bus hour pickup shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. However, interestingly, the plan that was submitted shows correctly that that the no standing sign is only applicable to 62nd Street frontage. So again, what I'm saying, we have gone through this. There's been over a year of thing. Of a wait and see of what the various concerns are. This is really a culmination of various reviews, site inspections, documentations that we have received and have reviewed. And I really do not want to go back and forth on these arguments and belabor this process. So please listen to us and proceed accordingly if you want this application to succeed or want this to be approved. Applicant did also provide a snapshot of traffic congestion, which again affirms that there is a demand for curbside parking. So with that in mind, I absolutely do not see the need for another bus stop, a bus holding area on 63rd Street frontage. And since the applicant is very confident about its GPS monitoring system and staggered system, those can be used to ensure that the buses are parked somewhere nearby, and they are coming, or they're en route and they're being and they will be able to access the site on 62nd and pick up and drop off students accordingly. Now, the school, while it says that 98% of its students will be taking buses, a very small percentage, about 2%, which comes to about 12 students, will walk or will come by private vehicle. And the staff member primarily walk or take public transit. So based on the charts that's been provided in the statement of facts, pages 14 to 15, from the submission of 2/25/2025. I think this also is probably same, 2/25/25 is when the statement of fact was created. Except for one custodial, no staff will arrive by 7:15 a.m., which is after the initial arrival of 2 school buses for grades 7, 8, and 9 on weekdays. Security staff will arrive at 7:30, also after the initial arrival time of the buses. So school needs to commit and provide evidence of staffing prior to the arrival of the first school bus. Applicant also needs to provide crash data for the intersections around the school and the proposed intersection along the safe route that it's proposing. So as I mentioned, the school anticipates about 12 students would be walking to the site, and most of its, majority of its students live north of the subject site in the Borough Park. The school is proposing a safe route to direct the students away from the active streets of 62nd and 63rd Street, where the school is proposed to be located. And the applicant is proposing a route where it will, when the students are funneling in from north, the pedestrian will be, especially the school children and staff, will be directed from 16th Avenue towards 61st Street, towards 7th Avenue to arrive at a school at 62nd. So this is to basically bypass 16th and 62nd and 63rd Street, which does see, of all the blocks that is located in this manufacturing, the most amount of manufacturing related uses, and that are very active throughout the day. And at these intersections, crossing guards will be provided to direct the pedestrian flow. In the safety plan dated 6/18/2025, figure 9 on page 20, and the text on pages 18 through 19 are not matching. Confirm how many staff will be assigned to coordinate school buses, school bus arrival and departure, and students. Is it 2 safety staff or is it 3 safety staff? And clarify the role of the crossing guards. Is it 4 crossing guards? It's not clear. So this will, and the question is, will these crossing guards be staff, or are these assigned by the city? And what will be the timing and how they will be distinguished? Will they distinguish school students and staff from others? So with regards to, the applicant also provided a school safety commitment letter and a school safety alert letter. And the school safety commitment plan includes expanding the system, especially the bus transportation system, as the student enrollment increases. We need more clarity as to how that would be done and how that would be implemented. What is the cutoff and the point? School safety access plan is also going to be provided and made available. For accountability, applicant is proposing an independent consultant who will monitor the school operation related to school safety for the first 2 years of operation of the project site. It would be done biannually, unannounced spot checking, provide report to the school, and upon request to BSA. And the applicant also proposes to install cameras to complement the planned security infrastructure to monitor their arrival and departure at 62nd Street. So GZA report states 3 years of monitoring, which differs from the commitment letter. I'm not sure the implementability of the commitment letter as it's stated. It needs to be in if we do proceed, should the board consider that this application does merit approval, then at a minimum, a restrictive deck must be recorded prior to granting this application. I am also not sure if 2 years of operational plan is adequate, And also if a biannual audit is adequate. At a minimum, it should be done quarterly. And the operational plan should extend well into the full build out. Applicant needs to provide a very detailed monitoring auditing plan for board's review prior to an implementation. And also, it should retain the consultants who are extremely knowledgeable and familiar with the current operation and the actions that is before us. There is no reason why some third party who is not at all familiar with the site or what the board had committed us for be brought in, because that will result in a lot of misunderstanding, mismanagement, and I would say lack of comprehension in some aspects. I don't think this report should be, again, I'm not convinced it should be provided. If we request, it should be provided to us. I'm going to leave it to our council. We need to have a more of an internal discussion, and I'm willing to hear from the commissioners' thoughts on this. It has to be recorded in a way that it ensures that it is being monitored and it is being done appropriately. And there should be no changes to any of the school safety plans. Should the board consider this application warranting an approval, whatever conditions the board would impose on it, there should be no reason for these conditions not to be modified without a BSA approval, even if your consultant after the study determines that maybe you can do changes here and there. I also want to know if there are other schools that are similarly situated in similarly situated sites where such commitment letter has been implemented and has been put to practice, and how successful that has been. So moving on to the plans. I do not believe a lobby on 63rd Street is needed and of the scale that is being proposed. It just can be an exit corridor from the main space. Again, I want the plan to read exactly the way it is supposed to function. It is not to function as another entryway or a secondary entryway of any sort. The primary and the only entryway to the school shall be from 62nd Street. 63rd is only for emergency purposes. And so revise the plan to indicate just the corridor requirement that is needed for you to exit onto the curb of 63rd Street. Also, I noticed that there is a Lula that is being shown. I do not know if you need that, given that you have a stair B already lands at the same elevation at the 63rd Street frontage, and 62nd is at grade. So I do not know if you need a secondary ADA accessibility on 63rd Street. Also, eliminate the outdoor seating that is proposed on 3rd Avenue, on the 3rd floor along 63rd Street. It is really not a great place for anybody to be hanging around there with so much of debris that would be coming from the construction site across. I have another question, which is, do you need 3 staircases? Are 3 staircases required for the capacity? Is that a building code requirement? I want the applicant to provide building code calculation as to why the lobby area on 63rd Street is required of that size, and it has to be laid out in that manner, and why it cannot be part of the corridor, which just leads to the exit door. The rooftop play area and the 6-foot wide fire department access zone, they overlap. So I want to make sure fire department accepts that configuration. So if fire department has not seen the plan, our representative from fire department is here. Please look into it and let the board and the applicant know if that is acceptable. Thank you. In the plan, indicate the refrigerated trash storage area. I do not see it anywhere in the plan. What is the operational plan for trash pickup? It cannot be on 62nd Street, as that is the school entrance. It needs to be clear of any trash storage or pickup or any trash receptacle, even temporarily. Trash pickup should only be done from 63rd Street. and also need to identify the area of the trash pickup, the pickup hours, when, and is it daily? Is it on a every 3 days? All of those. So those are my questions. I do have a lot of concerns with regards to the school safety, and my questions are my initial thoughts as we go, as I hear from the commissioners, and I'm sure they have done their due diligence. I would like to hear their thoughts and suggestions so that we can make this project a safer site for school. I would though say the reason I'm proceeding very cautiously on this site is because unlike other sites where the board in the past has denied a few schools that are located in primarily manufacturing areas. And in those cases, the sites were being accessed by students solely walking. They were not being bused. This is the only site, this is one case where I'm noticing everybody, 98% of the students will be coming by bus. And that is one of the reason why I feel there is a possibility, but there needs to be a much tighter, better school safety operational action plan. And I think some work needs to be done. And the recommendations that I'm making would also work along that way and ensure that. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. That was very thorough. I want to thank the applicant. I believe that their response is very thorough as well. I did review the letter from the DOT of August, and I reviewed the school safety response thereafter. And again, the next letter of DOT in June, and I am happy that they are open and dedicated to implementing extra precautions to ensure the safety of these students. I heard your comments with regard to school safety, and I would say either we do one or the other. I think doing twice a year throughout the build out till it's full, as opposed to every quarter till it's full, because that might become too onerous on the applicant. And we don't want to condition them out of a variance.
Okay.
But we'll also have more data that is relevant on when the school is fully built.
Right.
Other than that, I have no comment. I think they meet the findings.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So these are my views about the defining of the special permit, given the industrial nature of 16th Avenue at this location, as well as 62nd Street, 63rd Street at this location. 98% of the students are predicted to take the bus. And for me, staff just needs to be present to ensure that students can be ushered safely into the building at the beginning of the day, and then safely from the building to the bus at the end of the day. Those are my thoughts on bus takers. More of my thoughts are about the walkers. 2% of the students are predicted to walk, which is less than 20 students. It isn't a large amount. They said the students must get approval from school administration. Could they reveal to us the criteria that they're using to determine who gets to walk? Is age going to be a factor? Because I would be concerned if youngsters under 10 are granted walking privileges given the surroundings of the school. I also think that the school administration should be very proactive, very clear, and very transparent about the route that they expect students to take. There should be oversight for much longer than, I believe, the 2 months that the applicant was proposing to ensure that the students habitually take the approved route to school. I personally feel that the walkers should either walk on 61st Street or 64th Street to get to 17th Avenue, and then walk on 17th Avenue to 62nd Street to get to the entrance of the school. I feel that the school has to be very clear that students who violate the walking policy should have their walking privileges revoked by the administration for their own safety. And I think that has to be clearly communicated to the parents of these students to ensure success. And so those are my views at this point.
Bless you.
That's-
Thank you. Bless you. Thank you. Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Chair. I'm gonna start with you asked about kind of the bus or the size of the bus, how
Yeah.
many seats is it? I believe they indicated that in one of the submissions. They are talking about 78 seaters, buses. I've seen that.
Okay.
I'm gonna start to like make myself clear. I'm gonna start with the document, the safety plan that is submitted to explain where I'm coming from. The safety plan that was submitted by GZA, that I'm talking about the detailed report. And I'm specifically talking about page 18. Paragraph in the middle, under student safe routes to school and proposed pedestrian safety measures. It says that as noted, 62nd Street and 63rd Street between 16th and 17th Ave do not currently provide a cohesive, safe pedestrian environment for any student who may be walking to and from the school location. So this is the introductory sentence from GZA in their report, and it's a scary sentence. It gives you the impression, like at glance, these guys are gonna say, oh, this site is not good. But immediately after that, they say, however, and this is a very important, however, only a small percentage of students will be walking to the school. So that two pillars, this safety plan is supported on two main pillars. The first one is the fact that, or the claim that I would say so far, that only 2% or so will be walking to the school. It's not 20%. It's not 50%, just 2%. So that mitigates the fears significantly. And the second pillar that supports the safety plan is that proposed monitoring plan, which is you gotta have a very clear, very detailed, very like comprehensive and well understood by the staff safety plan, arrival and dismissal protocol, I would call it. And this should be strictly implemented and monitored in the meantime. So this is my initial point. No games, 2%, it's 2%. It's not 20, it's not 50. And the second is detailed plan, how you're gonna like coordinate the arrival and dismissal, and how you're gonna monitor that. Then I'll come to the details. In their letter, I'm not talking about the detailed plan, I'm talking about the letter from GZA. It says on the introductory portion of it, it says that in order to maximize student safety, I don't like the language. I don't want an engineer think about maximizing safety. We need to ensure safety, not maximizing safety. When we work with building codes, and I'm talking about engineers, when we work with building codes, it doesn't matter to me whether the safety is maximum or not. I care about the specified safety requirements in the code and whether we ensure the safety per that code or not. In this submission or in this topic, the safety plan, we need to ensure safety, not maximize safety. So please take a look at the language in the letter and take care of that. That second point I want to talk about is the monitoring plan. I feel like there is some confusion regarding the monitoring between the detailed study and the brief summary, which is the letter from GZA. And if you look at the detailed study, it talks about 3-year monitoring period. When you go to the letter, it just mentioned 2. And it says biannual. Biannual, as far as I understand it, maybe I'm not correct, but when you say bi-weekly checks, it means that it's a check every 2 weeks. Biannual thing means that if it's a thing that's done every 2 years. So if GZA, if you're talking about 2-year monitoring period, and you're talking about site visit or monitoring shots, biannual, that means that you're gonna monitor once at the beginning and once at the end, and we're done. And this is not acceptable. This safety plan, this arrival and dismissal protocol need to be monitored periodically, maximum every 3 months. A site visit should be paid by whoever is gonna take care of that. And he should take a look at the arrival or the dismissal or both. And I know that we usually concern about money when it comes to schools because we don't wanna like put burdens on them. But I would say that if an engineer will shoot from, or an administrator will shoot from the office of the expert who's gonna monitor this to the site to monitor the arrival, probably it's gonna be 2-3 hours in the morning. If he's looking at the dismissal, it's gonna be same at the end of the day. The cost for that, the monitoring, I would say within $1,000 every 3 months. I don't think this is not a big burden on them. But the benefit of that is this guy, when he comes to the site, he's gonna take videos, pictures, look at the flow of students, see if there is something that need to be enhanced or improved on the dismissal and arrival protocol, and document that and report it to the school. And I would say report it to us too. I would love to get like the monitoring data, take a look at it and make sure that if there is an issue, there is a corrective action taken. So this is the second.
I just got a note saying the proposal is to do it semi-annually, so 2 times a year.
Semi-annual.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not biannual. Okay, sounds good. Semi-annual every 6 months. I wouldn't take that. 2 to 3 months, I believe this is the minimum, I would say. If it's every 6 months, it could be done at the beginning of the school year and at the end of the school year. So he's gonna see, like, take a look at 2 days. But I would say every 3 months, if the school year is 6 months or so, 1 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, 1 at the end, and so on. So we're gonna have like some sort of like solid data about what's going on with the arrival and dismissal. And like I said, I personally, I like to like get like updated on these monitoring schemes. What are the outcomes? And if there is like an issue, how it's corrected, what kind of corrective action? But if I'm preparing this plan, I would consider this plan as like a operational plan, as a procedure, like when we have like a governing standards in a testing lab or so, we're gonna have like a specification piece. It's like a book, it's like a technical book, technical manual. I would make this safety plan as a technical manual, put every single detail in it. The staff should be trained to totally understand how they're gonna handle this. For the walkers, I would say, I agree with Commissioner Brown that it's a very good idea that if somebody violates, he should be forbidden from walking. That's a very good idea. But in the meantime, I'm not sure if someone has a doctor appointment, he's coming late and he's a young kid. I believe it's not gonna cost the school much to assign like probably 1 administrator to pick them from the intersection at 62nd and 17 to make sure that when they walk that portion from the intersection to the school, they're gonna walk safely.
Jealousy.
Again, the implementation of this safety protocol, the monitoring is a key point to success. In addition to that following the claim that it's going to be just 2%, not more than that. And I leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Prenga?
Hi, I just wanted to follow up because there's some confusion about the frequency of the auditing. There's a discrepancy between their commitment letter and their safety plan, and the commitment letter indicates that the consultant would be responsible for conducting regular site observations provisionally proposed as biannual monitoring visits with additional unannounced spot checks. And then the safety plan says something different, that they commit to annual. Yeah.
So at the hearing, the applicant needs to clarify which route they are proposing, but I think the comments that they are hearing from the board is whatever is being proposed is not sufficient. It needs to be for a longer duration and more frequently. So I think that's so far, but I have to hear from Commissioner Yoon before I come to that conclusion. So let's hear Commissioner Yoon, and then we can have a more of an robust discussion after that.
Okay, thank you. I also have a few comments. They are related to the C finding of 7221 and the D finding of 73-133. I visited the site on a weekday afternoon, and as it's been noted in the consultant's report, it is a very intensely used frontage on 62nd Street and 63rd Street between 15th Avenue and 17th Avenue. I was nearly run over by a forklift going backwards. The sidewalks are completely impassable for at least 75% of the lengths of those two blocks that I mentioned between 15th and 17th on 62nd and 63rd. So I just want to make it clear that this is a series of smaller businesses with smaller frontages that are largely building supply, auto repair, collision repair. They use their frontage very heavily with forklifts, excavators, et cetera, because they have curb cuts all over the place to get their materials back and forth. So it is an M1 district, but this is one of the more intensely used frontages of an M1 district that I've seen. So the intensity occurs right next door to the site on both frontages and across the street. So we've talked a bit, Chair talked about 63rd Street. 62nd also has a collision auto body repair shop immediately to the west, and a building supply and an ironworks across the street. On 63rd, there's a commercial truck rental and a number of building supply stores that have, again, number of curb cuts. So the nature of the intensity of uses, it's not just unsafe, it is impassable for students to walk on these blocks. So then, as it's discussed by my fellow commissioners, this needs to rely entirely on buses. My main concern here is that you have 80 feet of frontage in which the expectation is that only 2 buses will load and unload at any given time. Per the safety plan, it has been designed for the arrival and dismissal times have been designed to only permit 2 buses at a time. But then when you look at the schedule of arrivals and dismissals, there are many times when 5 buses will arrive with young kids. So I feel like there's not enough tightness in this report or in this plan to understand how this is actually going to function and operate the way that it has been claimed. I don't know that you have enough frontage to have all of these buses going back and forth across spans of 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon to get all of these students safely to school. So let me continue the length of the frontage. Okay, so if we're going to continue with this, we need a more detailed explanation, and generally the operational plan needs to be tightened up and much more clarified. Where do the buses go when they need to idle? Where do they park when they're not in use? Is there a lease agreement for a parking space? For the 7221C finding, which is about impact to the existing neighborhood, any spillover of buses would significantly impact the businesses around it. And Chair also mentioned that in the discussion of the standing zone, no standing zone on 63rd Street. But these businesses are, again, heavily reliant on their curb cuts and their street frontages. So any spillover is going to be hugely impactful to these guys. So we need a much better understanding of how this is not going to impact all of the adjacent uses, given the narrowness of your frontage. Let's see. So in the documents, the word encouraged, bus usage is encouraged is used. It should be a requirement in this case because this is, again, the only way that this whole plan will work. So from a statement of facts, the safety plan, the school safety alert that would be sent to parents, it just says that bus usage is encouraged. We need to make this a much stricter and clearer protocol that's available to everyone, including staff and parents. It should be the safe routes should be mapped out and given in a diagram. And there's no reference in the school safety alert to contacting the school safety administrator, alerting the school. How will anyone know? How do these parents know to contact the school and let them know that their kid's going to be walking that day? Who gets these privileges, as Commissioner Otley Brown asked? We need a lot more detail. on, even if it's one kid that walks to school. We need to know everything about how that student's going to be protected getting there. And then there's crossing guards that are, I think, deployed at 3 intersections. I'm a little concerned about 15th Avenue, not just 16th Avenue, because I think the students need to be stopped at 61st Street, starting at 15th Avenue, because the catchment area, while it's all north of the school, it is largely to the west and east. And there are a number of students that, if are walking, could be coming from further west than 15th Avenue. Let's see. Page 20 of the statement of findings states that dual frontages provide a flexibility and dilution of impact because both frontages will be used. So we need to tighten up all of this, the discussions. Is it one frontage? Is it 2? Some of these might be holdovers from the original submission, but going through it again this time, there's just been a number of discrepancies, as has already been discussed. I also noted that some of the schools listed in the neighborhood character study, which are meant to imply that there's the district is changing, a number of those schools don't have legal COs or permits. So we need to clean out all of the schools that don't operate legally and only provide the ones that have actual legal C of Os. If there are BSA resolutions attached to those schools, please provide them so we can read the discussion of the board at that time. And then the last thing is, I noticed when I was looking at the community facility reference next door that's under construction on 17th Avenue and 63rd Street, the DOB now work permit has a schedule of occupancy that lists moderate hazard processing uses on the ground floor and on the roof. And I believe in discussing with Ms. Banky, there's a response from DEP on the air quality that would require the consultant to go through all active permits in the study area. So just wanted to note that I noticed that, and if there's outdoor play area next to a moderate hazard processing area on the roof next door, and making sure that's all considered in air quality and in noise studies. Those are my comments for now.
Thank you. Thank you all for your very thorough review. Yes, Commissioner Shedder?
Yeah, on the plan as well, I forgot to mention this. On the plan as well from GZA, GZA is the professional who's handling or implementing or developing this safety plan. So it says, it talks about, let me just get the exact wording. Yeah, it says it, finally, the school commits to annual independent audit and of operation and with SNAP inspections and like at the list of the items that were given the scope of the plan. This is the scope of the plan, that the safety plan. It says discussion of the plan for the safe arrival and dismissal. We don't need discussion here. We need recommendations. If you're the party, if you're the expert who's like developing this plan, you need to give this board recommendations, not a discussion. So again, I believe whoever wrote this study is very
I think in all
clever.
fairness, they had prepared this document for DOT's review, and we're hoping, and that's why they made it as a discussion, like a starting point of discussions, and then taking it to the next step. I understand what you're saying, and I know the applicants are listening in on this and are taking copious notes. But the message is clear. Whatever has been provided as part, if that is the initial recommendation, it's not adequate. It needs to have more detail. There needs to be more clarification. It needs to be broken down into much more steps, and there needs to be greater frequency and a longer duration of implementation of this plan. Is that
Yeah.
in a very,
fair.
in a quick nutshell?
Yep.
I would also say, and I think I really want to thank my fellow commissioners for taking this matter and doing such a thorough review. The board has reviewed many schools. So we are relying on our years of expertise, experience and informations that we have gotten from our sister agencies. And we are kind of funneling all that through this and keeping in mind what comments we have received thus far from our sister agencies. So I think the entire review of this case is relying on those two findings. And these are our comments. I would go one step further. I think, as Commissioner Yoon pointed out, it's not the word encouraged. It should be a requirement, and that should be made very clear when the school is, when the enrollment period starts, that it's a requirement. And as Commissioner Otley Brown pointed out, what is the criteria that is used when you do allow that 2% to walk to the site? Now, if the school enrollment increases more than that, the 2% number of 12, what seems now maybe more, and we don't know what the future holds, right? However, I also want to know, when will the school, at what point will they say, okay, we are going to limit the number of people who are going to walk to the site? And this is the capacity we are going to maintain. And when it extends beyond that, we have to provide school buses on these routes. And how are you going to make that determination? Because that's also another critical factor. The letter that says, yes, they will continue to provide additional routes or more buses on the same routes, whichever way, depending on the demand and the area, the catchment area, but we need much more clarity on than just a qualitative statement. And how are those going to be monitored? How frequently those assessments are going to be made? And how is and to keep board appraised of this. So this is going to be very different from some of the other actions the board has granted, partly because we are trying to fill in a gap here. And we need a lot more clarity on this. Again, what we are saying here, I would say this is a direction, not a recommendation, which is going to go back and forth. The 63rd Street bus stop, not happening. Not going to permit that. The hours of bus drop-off pickup, 7 to 6, not 6 to 8. That is not consistent. You don't have any after-school programs. You don't, the first bus is arriving at 7 o'clock. There is no reason for you to have anything from 6 o'clock onwards. This is detrimental to the local businesses and sending the wrong message. We have in this, and this is consistent with the way the board has recommended these school hours, and so has DOT allowed that. So I don't see any reason for us to deviate from that. The trash, a lot of the times we have heard complaints from DOT about trash drop-off pickups is coming and a nuisance for school drop-offs and pickups. So the trash, so those need to be separated. And since you have the luxury of two separate frontages, use one frontage for trash and the other one for students. So the educating the students and faculty and their family about all of these safety measures has to be done annually. Unless this area completely changes and where it doesn't warrant it, and future board decides that these conditions are not viable. So all of those need to be factored. These are directions. These are not recommendations. And I really do not want this meeting to become a back and forth of negotiation on every bit of these things. So if you do want this project to succeed, and if you want the board to consider granting an approval on this, listen to our comments and follow our instructions and make these changes to your project. Thank you.
Move on.
Yes.
Item number 18, 2024, 18BZ, 15805 Union Turnpike, Queens.
Okay. So applicant has provided a queuing analysis and a couple of rounds of traffic impact study. So they initially submitted a very conservative analysis of a traffic analysis, and then they submitted one that is the standard method that SECRA requires to conduct a traffic analysis study. Based on both of them, It seems the level of service really does not change. It remains the same. Only the degree changes at certain locations, a little bit here and there. I had some questions. I noticed there was some, I think there are errors, and I have asked the project manager to reach out to the applicant and to clarify and to make sure that the latest round of analysis that's been provided does not have those errors. But I think based on either of the scenarios, it seems the impact will not be significant. And if the worst case scenario, if you're looking at the most conservative scenario, it may require a change in signal timing by 5 seconds, which the applicant recommends that you can shift 1 second of green time from one of the phases to the other phase. The applicant's response with regards to pedestrian and the high crash, I thought was consistent. This is the high crash situation is there now, and therefore it is really it is up to the city as the to identify a mechanism to make those improvements. According to the queuing analysis, at the 13 vehicles will be in the queue during the most peak period of time, and the applicant is proposing 14 queuing spaces. I do have one comment and concern on that one, and that is when I'm looking at the plan, the 14th space is right at the entrance of the site, which can block vehicles that are trying to enter the site to park on those 18 parking spaces, or park on one of those 18 parking spaces. So I don't know if you need to maintain 14, or maybe you do your analysis in a way where you can accommodate 14, assuming that you have a mix of large and small vehicles altogether. Or a note can be said that you're going to provide 14 reservoir spaces. I'm a little conflicted myself, but I think that's a concern I have. I also want you to, I did see the latest plan that was submitted yesterday. However, the lighting note is still not the latest one. You do need to indicate that the lighting will not exceed 2-foot candle along the residential lot line. And since 8 on-site parking spaces are required, and you're proposing 16 spaces, so these remaining 8 spaces should be utilized for line busting methods. And I recognize, based on our conversations with Starbucks organization members for a different Starbucks case, that's not done. However, I do want, given that this is a very busy intersection with vehicles, bus stops, and has a very active pedestrian movement, you do need to have an alternate method of line busting, where when the vehicle is coming to that 14th drive-through marker, they are pulled over and put in one of those 6 non-required parking spaces for the vehicles to be channeled. And you need to identify that method, and that needs to be a part of the condition, and it would be recorded as part of the restrictive deck. So you need to provide that commitment letter stating the alternate method that will be implemented to prevent any vehicles from blocking the sidewalk for vehicular flow. Those are my initial comments on this. Vice Chair Shiveta?
Thank you, Chair. I have no comments.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I have no comments. I'm satisfied with the latest report.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. Other than the lighting note, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I have no comments.
Thank you.
Go.
Okay, yeah.
New cases, item number 19, 2025, 11BZ, 1681, 1683, 42nd Street, Brooklyn.
Oh, by the way, before I
Oh, yeah.
go any further, this particular case, the Union Turnpike case, at the public hearing, it is going to be heard last. So please do note that we'll start with Coney Island, then we'll go to 62nd, 63rd Street side, then we will take the new case, which is the 42nd Street, and then we will end with the Union Turnpike. Okay. So the new case, we have received proof of initial filing and hearing notices. We have not received a community board vote. Our staff did reach out to the community board seeking an update on the community board vote. And the initial application was sent to the community board in May. Thus far, we have received several letters of support, as I counted as of last evening, nearly 30 letters of support and 1 letter of opposition. This is an application, a variance application for a bulk modification to permit enlargement of an existing school that is located at the subject site. Applicant is seeking a waiver of floor area, lot coverage, front yard, side yard, rear yard, front wall, and side setback. And please note, some of these are already pre-existing. Some of them are waivers, and that is continuing. So as I mentioned, this back in 1982, board had granted a variance to increase the FAR, and in 85 it was converted to a school, a 4-story school with cellar. And the applicant is proposing to enlarge it by adding 2 more floors. So it would be a total of 6 stories. I just have, before I get into the findings, indicate in the cellar plan the area for trash storage. It is not clear. Longitudinal and transversal sections do not match with the section lines on the plan, and the mezzanine that is identified on the plan is not showing up in the sections. So with regards to the findings of 7221, this is a school, and it is proposing to expand. And the reason for it is that it has inadequate classroom sizes and is not, and the current building is not able to accommodate. So the preschool is located at a different location, so they want to consolidate all of those classes and have parallel classes per grade, and thus the need for the expansion. And so the current enrollment is 540 students, and the projected growth in 6 years is estimated to be 884. So I would like a clarification with regards to how 344 additional students are being arrived at. What is the existing growth factor? Because the chart that we have is from 2025 to 2031. So I would like to know how that percentage is being arrived at. Also, when you were assessing the current enrollment body, did you factor in both the schools, the one that's at the subject site and the nursery school, to account for that? With regards to the neighborhood character, the addition of 2 additional floors without any setbacks, I was okay with it. With regards to the minimal, the applicant has provided a square foot per student comparison chart, which is the gross square foot to student on average is about 132 compared to the proposed, which is 52 square foot, which is a big difference. However, I do want to know the growth factor that has been applied in determining the future enrollment. So that is my comment. We did receive a school safety letter from DOT, and in that the comments that are related to containing the trash within the building, The applicant needs to provide a trash generation and a storage plan. Applicant needs to provide a revocable consent since it seems the existing trash enclosure is fenced in and it's located on the city sidewalk. And the applicant needs to provide plans of arrival and dismissal in staggered manner. And any other update, Ms. Benke, on the environmental?
We received the revised EAS, still reviewing that to determine if any reviews are needed. They did respond to our previous comments.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further on this application.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I'm also satisfied with the application.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I have three minor comments. The first one is, what is the basis for the student growth chart construction, how it's constructed? And please provide data with respect to past growth. The second one is, explain why it wouldn't be possible to utilize the part of the mezzanine that's open to the sky. If you look at the mezzanine plan, it's just around the perimeter. If they extend the mezzanine to become like a whole floor, if that's religiously possible, I believe that would reduce the scope for the FAR and maybe the height waiver scope. And the third one, have you evaluated the structural integrity of the building after the proposed enlargement? If yes or no, please indicate that on the drawings and indicate that BSA is not reviewing any material submitted with respect to structural integrity / safety of the building. So they have to take a look at that, and it should be reviewed by a sister agency, DOB. Thank you.
Okay. Can you repeat what you mentioned about mezzanine? I didn't quite understand.
Sure. I can explain. Give me 1 second. Yeah, this is the plan for the mezzanine. If you look at the extent, let me just move that way. If you look at the extent of the mezzanine, yeah, this is all open to below. So if my point is, if they add that, if they construct a slab here, a floor slab, and add this to the floor footprint, it might be helpful reducing the FAR scope waiver or the height.
Maybe the height, but I don't know about the FAR.
Probably, yes, I agree. Sorry, yes, my bad. Yes, the height, yeah, maybe. Yeah, it might reduce the height if they can eliminate a floor or a partial floor. Yes, that's good.
Well, that's why it wasn't clear to me what is the height of the mezzanine. The sections were not clear at all. And that's why my question is, what is the height of this open space?
I thought it's clear on one of the sections.
No, it's not. You see the way it's cut through, it's not at all clear what is the height of the mezzanine. Yeah. It seems like it's just one floor, but then it shouldn't be called mezzanine. So that's why
It's below grade, right?
if you look at the section drawings,
It's down,
Oh, there it is.
down below grade. You can see the elevation marker to the left. Yeah,
Yeah.
down there. And that cut through.
Yeah, the mezzanine here is here,
what is the
and the
height?
top is here. It's this.
The
That-
floor to floor looks like
This is the height.
feet.
Wow.
Hold on 1 second. That it's
It's
5674.
Is that even a habitable space?
No.
Does that meet the habitability requirement? It is less than 7 feet.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not even sure some of those uses that are there are permitted. So please be careful of what you're showing and what is existing. Yeah, it looks like that's why I was confused. It looks like a crawl space. Please look into this.
Yeah, especially
And
here.
I don't know if
Especially
this is
here.
what the board had approved previously.
I think, was this board? did this
Yeah.
come to the-
Yeah, it
This
was.
is a residential building.
No,
Right?
it had come, hold on. It had come hold on, what is the history?
They didn't quote any case numbers. That's why I thought
The-
this was.
Right, so the only variance was granted in 82. This was for non-compliant structure in a single multifamily dwelling to increase the FAR and the open space. This was a conversion of a building to a multifamily dwelling, and then that was converted to the school. And that conversion happened as of right. However, some of the use, yeah, so you're right, the board did not review the school plan, but this layout configuration is not permissible by code. So you need to revise the plans if you're going to get this through us. Okay. All right, thank you. We shall resume. We are,
Wait, I haven't gone yet.
oh no, you have
Yeah.
not?
No,
Just gonna say to you,
Oh, no, I'm so.
I have a few comments.
I am.
That's all right.
So.
I spoke a little bit, so maybe that's why.
My apologies.
Just a reference that they did cite somewhere buried, it was hard to find, but the 284-82-BZ was the a resolution for the, it was 4 separate buildings that were converted and basically united into a single multiple dwelling
Yeah.
building. Okay, so this is a big school that's already overbuilt in the area. So the needs seem clear, and I think it's mostly just a clarification of operations and making some efforts to reduce bulk. One question, and maybe I missed it, is, and maybe I'm always asking for charts, but a chart of arrival and dismissal times by grade, because I couldn't find in the narrative, I couldn't fill in my own chart. So if you could provide that. The floor to floor heights for the additions are at 11'11" floor to floor, whereas the existing heights tend to be below 10 feet. I understand that 10 feet is a little bit low for a school. It's appropriate for a residential, but exploring an 11-foot floor to floor to reduce the overall building by 2 feet. The parapet heights are not indicated on the elevations. They are, however, indicated on the roof plan as 3'6". These should be reduced to a minimal curb, and if you do need some barrier at the perimeters, it should be a metal railing, something that will reduce the appearance of height, because an additional 3.5 feet on top of the building only makes this even larger. I believe that the current proposal does not make enough attempts to activate all of the facades, given how prominent this building would be in the neighborhood. So I'm going to share this Google Street View. And I also went to the site. So currently this feels somewhat contextual, but we're talking about adding with the parapet, 27 feet of height on top of this. And this is going to be really viewed from every approach. It's got 3 frontages. It's going to be the biggest building for some time. So the elevation on 42nd Street shows some fenestration because there's classrooms on this side. But when you look at Day Hill and 17th Avenue, you have a big blank wall that's pretty expansive. So I think even if there are bathrooms or spaces that don't need windows, there needs to be some more attempt to try and activate these frontages for the neighborhood character finding. I did, as I mentioned, I went to the site and dismissal was happening, and I did see very orderly attended dismissal of walking students separate from bus students, and that was very good to see. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Mr. Goldstein would know a similar kind of treatment was done for this other school, which was on Avenue T. And I
Yes.
think it was your suggestion was to kind of remove the parapet and replace it with something that will bring it, that will lighten up the height and minimize the verticality. Yeah, so something similar to that effect can be looked at.
But also a blank stucco wall for 2 stories.
Yeah,
on those
agreed.
elevations, I think is problematic.
Yes, I agree. And that, and that could be just either windows, or it could be a more artistic articulation.
There's a number of ways to do it. I just think there should be some effort made here. That's all.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah, Thank you. All right, so we are at 11:30 mark, so we will resume at 11:40.
Okay, this concludes the this concludes the review session for September 9, 2025. We'll resume at 11:40. Dara, is the mic on?
Okay, good morning again. We're ready to proceed. Ms. Matias, we are recording, we are live, we are streaming. You may proceed with today's public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for September 9th, 2025. We'll begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 16, 2022, 65BZ, 2503, 2519 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn.
I've let Ms.
There.
Altman.
Good morning,
Yeah.
Lyra J. Altman from Lawson Lyra Altman. I did watch your executive session this morning and we did receive the
Hold on,
letter.
hold on.
Wait, 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 wait,
To
wait.
be sworn in.
Oh, you're right. I got so excited to tell you my answers.
Yes, but first of all, is there anyone participating with you?
Just me this morning.
Okay, raise your right. It's always good to see you, Ms. Altman.
It's good
Raise
to
your
see
right
you.
hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony for this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Of course.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review.
All right. I'm still Lyra Altman and also still from the law office of Lyra Altman. And I said before, I did watch the review session this morning. We did receive a letter from DOT yesterday. We have an entire submission drafted, including the revised EAS. I'd like to review it prior to submitting. I can have it ready to submit this afternoon. I would ask one question. As you heard from Ms. Banky and Ms. Prenga, there was a question on item 1 that they're getting clarification from DOT. If you'd like, I can hold on submitting until we get a response from DOT. Otherwise, I could submit what we believe is what they want for item 1.
Ms. Benke, are the information that DOT is asking substantial? Would that, I would say honestly, in the interest of time and to make sure our sister agencies are also very busy, I would rather prefer that you submit a complete set. It has gone through multiple reviews. I really want this to be the final and the complete and the bestest of best set.
As do I. And as I said, I received a revised EAS complete with all attachments at 9:52 this morning. So we should be ready. But my question is just regarding that item 1 question, the clarification with DOT.
Okay.
Is it helpful to see what the item 1 is? Or
Yeah.
I can share it if that
I-
helps.
Benke, what were you going to say?
The question was, they were talking about, here we go, a spreadsheet. And we're not sure exactly what they're asking for with a spreadsheet. If they're asking for the backup data, as my email to Ms. Benke showed this morning and Ms. Jella, to Ms. Prenga, it is available. I've already provided it. It's in the revised EAS. If they're looking for a spreadsheet, we're not sure exactly what they're looking for.
I think either way, we need that, that the backup material you are going to give us, which is
Of course.
the
of course.
sheets.
It's
So,
already in there.
yeah. So you could submit that. If anything, it would be an additional thing they might ask for if
And I also want to make sure they're asking for the backup data for not only for the K through 8, but also staff.
That's been in the submission for months.
yeah, they might have missed. That was an old. It was there for months, so they might have missed it on the most recent submission.
Okay. So I guess that's the answer then.
Give us any spreadsheets you have and that backup you talked about, and we will try to clarify once we get everything. I believe.
so you'll have the same handwritten survey results from the staff that you have now, along with the summary. You'll have the new handwritten survey results from K through 5, along with the summary page, which you already had. And you'll have that Google Doc, which you already have for the middle school students. All of that will be in the transportation appendix.
Okay. And I think there was spreadsheets. If you could resubmit any spreadsheets you had that still pertain to the new EAS.
Of course, this will be a complete EAS with everything in one place.
Okay. It's usually a separate Excel document. You had a few of those. So if you could look for that as well.
Okay. So please submit a complete package of everything and and Ms. Benke, before you submit anything to DOT, please make sure every element has been included so that we can get the complete package to DOT for final review.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any questions, Ms. Altman? Any additional questions or clarification?
No, I believe we're very clear. The submission's already prepared.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Altman? Let's then go to the public.
The case that we're currently discussing is 2022-65 BZ 2503 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment on this application, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-614-0807 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application.
Okay. One of my notes from previous hearings said that I would want a condition, and I think it had to do with one of the conditions would be about fossil fuel versus electricity. And I think my note says that at the time of permitting the building shall comply with all the applicable regulations set forth at that time, including the use of electricity as opposed to fossil fuel. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. This may have been asked at the prior, and if I've forgotten, I just want to reiterate it as we're getting to the wire.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
We're also going to request that E designation for this one, for
Oh,
hazmat.
Okay, okay. And this would be for?
Hazmat.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, I am going to make a recommendation that we close since the findings have been met. However, the record shall remain open with regards to the environmental review, and as a result, any changes that needs to be made to the plan, especially the notes regarding the hazmat and the use of electricity as opposed to fossil fuel. Those should be all incorporated into the plan also. We will schedule this for decision as we get close to the environmental sign-off. So work closely with our applicant team, Ms. Prenga and Ms. Benke, and then we can schedule it. Motion to close. Is everybody okay with that? Okay,
Motion to close, Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
All right.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much.
Item number 17, 2024-10BZ, 1679 63rd Street, Brooklyn. There's a bunch of.
All right, I see Miss Pan Batan,
Ms. Batan,
Mr.
yeah.
Lobel, Mr. Whoa, that's okay. Kevin Williams, who else?
It would be Rabbi Singer as well. Using the,
Anyone else?
and Moshe and Rabbi Singer.
Yeah, I see Maurice, but who else?
Rabbi Singer.
Oh,
Rabbi Singer
Yeah,
at the
yes,
bottom.
yes, I do. Anyone else?
I think we're good.
Good? Okay, let me, oh, wait, I have to wait for Mr. Friedman.
I'm here.
And the rabbi.
Rabbi, can you please turn on your video?
Yeah, because I have to swear everyone in.
Is the chair able to hear my audio? I know that's
Yes,
the
we
end.
can hear you now.
Okay, good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay,
Rabbi Singer,
Rabbi. There we go.
there you go.
sir, thank you, sir. So everyone could unmute, raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes,
Yes.
Who's taking the lead? Whoever's taking the lead, please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant, Chair, Commissioners, members of the board, good morning. We're happy to be here today with Rabbi Singer representing Talmud Torah Tiferes Yechiel de Alexander. I think overwhelmingly as an applicant team, having discussed the comments of the review session, our first statement would be to say thank you to the board and staff for their careful consideration of this matter. The applicant does not take any potential approval here lightly. We understand the seriousness of the board's role in this, and we thank you for really your detailed comments and the opportunity to fulfill the conditions as have been suggested by the board. I think the other thing we would say as an applicant team is that we don't expect to merely meet the conditions as were presented in their entirety, but really to exceed them. The board and the applicant, the school here, have a unity and interest in keeping these kids safe, which we will be able to deliver on based upon a very detailed operational plan, which will be discussed by Mr. Williams. So to the extent, Chair, that I may defer to Kevin, we would have him discuss with particularity the conditions that were suggested by the board so that we can obtain full clarity in this matter.
Thank you. Kevin Williams, Principal Planner for GZA. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go iteratively through each commissioner's comments. I did want to remark on the nature, which I think the chair noted, the nature of our document. That was submitted as a response to DOT. It was meant to certainly provide an operational framework, but be just subject of discussion. So, you know, we take the notes here that, you know, a very iterative, detailed operational plan, monitoring protocol has to be forthcoming. So I wanted to override all of our comments with that. And I also just, again, want to affirm what Mr. LaBelle noted, was that I don't think there's a single comment that we're not willing to accept or otherwise improve upon. So we take those comments very well. So starting with, you know, some of these are non-operational comments, but they're simply questions. One is the capacity of school buses. So I think the intent is the 78-person school bus, which runs 35 to 48 feet. Why 15 minutes for pre-K and 30 minutes for high school arrival? So one of the things, if I may share my screen for a moment, that I don't know if you have something in your documents like this, but I wanted to show you, and this may require some tidying up in the final plan and working with Lynn operationally, but let's see, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Tell which screen. Okay, so this shows the stagger, and so it's based on buses. So 7 to 7:30. You know, the idea.
Mr. Williams, can you enlarge that a little bit?
Especially the chart.
Yeah. And some of this, like, it is kind of, you know, the concept here is to basically provide a space for one bus at a time. And so one of the points was about 5 buses arriving at once. So that in no case will that ever occur. So the idea is, given the 80 feet, that there should be one bus at a time in the space, and that we should afford, you know, optimal amount of time for that to happen. And given that we're not having a bunch of students on the sidewalk, cars pulling up and dropping off, you know, the average removal time for children, or exit time and enter time, you know, for buses is about 2.5 minutes. We timed this multiple times at other locations, and here you have none of those other competing issues. So the schedule, though, is really about the number of pickups and then the number of drop-offs. And the 7 to 7:30, the 7th, 8th, and 9th is, you know, based on a combination of attendance and the number of buses. And so we have 30 minutes accorded for that. The 8:15 to 8:45 is the same amount of time, but again, it basically takes those are upper grade students. They're sort of easier to direct. And then we have 15 minutes for the pre-K and 15 minutes for nursery, kindergarten, and grade 1, which is more than ample enough time. And this was basically considered not only based on the number of buses, but also the number of students that are in those buses and just the normal schedule that they currently keep. There may be some reconsideration of the departure times and the number of buses. For instance, the Friday 11:45 to 12, where we have 5 separate buses coming. I will discuss with the rabbi about enlarging that, but the thought is to have enough space and enough time to process the right amount of students. So we will go back and look at this and then provide the relevant logic associated with each arrival period. But the general idea is to give ample time for one bus to come in and to have, potentially delays coming from the transport system that's providing the students, which is a private operator, by the way, and goes and parks remotely at another location, which is something we will provide a letter to you about, that they will not be clogging the streets or the sidewalks or anything in the area overnight or during the day. So anyway, we agreed no reason to extend no standing zone to later hours, so we will conform that to the 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Agreed on the no standing zone on 63rd, which was meant to be an additional sort of emergency exit, but absolutely understand operationally taking away those spaces from the free use on the street stresses that environment. So we'll remove that. It's not necessary, and edit the statement of facts and the programmatic report to follow. And yes, so the notion, I think that the chair stated, first of all, the GPS walkie-talkies, the current standard of operations, this bus service currently serves their operation at their current location. They communicate very, very well and very, very effectively, and no reason to have that layover spot in the rear of the building to accommodate them. They'll operate just fine. Arrival times for staff, yes. I think we just did not get all of our documents updated. The safety plan indicates that 30 minutes prior to arrival, that all accorded safety personnel and representative grade directors that are associated with arrival and dismissal are present before, 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after normal operating hours, and we'll make sure all of our documentation notes that. We will provide crash data for the safe route as requested. How many staff will be provided for drop-off, pickup, how many crossing guards, and what are the functions? So what I will do again here is show you the set of plans. So we have 3 dedicated, one at the end of the drop-off zone, one at the pickup, and one to coordinate in the middle. And given that there's one bus at a time, this should be ample. And then we have crossing guards situated at the end, that basically on the 63rd and the 62nd side to prevent any. And the purpose of these is to facilitate crossing, but it's also to conform students to the safe route, which you can also see from this exhibit. We have additional 1, 2, and 3. So 4 total crossing guards. I did hear the note about crossing over to 15th. We can certainly discuss that. I think the intent is, to get students up to 64th or 60th Street. But I do, note, the broader route out here, that yes, they would go in that direction. One of the things I do want to note while we're talking about, because it bears on this consideration, first of all, it's a requirement for students to take buses, and that's something that hasn't clearly, there's not a selection process. In New York City schools, on a regular day of attendance, 5% of students arrive or depart late or are no-shows. And that's the same statistic that's basically applied here. And it's shown through their GPS measures and attendance information that we've gathered from the rabbi, is that approximately 2% of students, because they have an appointment, their parents are late, whatever means that, they come a little bit late, they have to go to a medical appointment during the day, they leave a little bit early, and that all gets logged into the school safety coordinator. So he will know all the names, he will have their badge number, their grade number. Crossing guards will have that on their cell phones. They'll be able to track that individual. And it's, again, on some days, there may be 0. So this is, like any school, parent has to, and this will be in the manual, in the training regime, parents will have to be informed to let the school safety coordinator know that their child is operating late, what time they're going to arrive, and and to basically everybody has to sign and attest that they'll follow the safe routes process, and there'll also be an orientation session for those folks. And I also think, just based on the characteristic of the neighborhood and how students walk, which is a very academically oriented corridor, there's students all over this area, including, as you noted, Commissioner, you noted, going down this block, which is a difficult navigational thing when you go to be able to go to the existing school that's at the end of this block. There's a lot of student traffic. So once you get on that 17th Street corridor, it's a very safe walk. It's one that will be accompanied. All parents, by the way, are required to accompany children walking to and from school. So one of the notions that, young children walking to school, under grade 6, it's as a requirement of practice, children are required to be accompanied by adult going to and from school, based on those circumstances of a late or arrival or a late departure or an early departure for an appointment or a family matter. So in terms of
I have
staff,
a question.
please go ahead.
I have a question, Mr. Williams.
Yeah.
You said this arrival that is happening, it is not because the document at one point said those who live within a 5 to 10 minute walking distance from the school may be considered allowed to walk or for any of the late arrivals. But in this case, you're saying there is no exception given. Everybody has to take the bus. The only exception is given when there might be some schedule differences and such that may require a student to not be able to take the bus and therefore needs to walk or be dropped off.
Yeah, that was, sorry, Chair. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish. Sorry.
No, that's the clarification I wanted. And the other thing you said, that when that happens, the crossing guard is notified by cell phone. So that means, are these city retained crossing guards, or these are going to be your own staff or
school staff trained ATTSA certified pedestrian safety personnel, similar to the application we did on 39th Street, where we had many staff members certified, have a dedicated operational team for arrival and dismissal, a dedicated safety coordinator, and that's the model. We think it's better. We worked with private operators before. They don't understand the students and the idiosyncrasies of the operation. And they're already currently safety personnel at their current location that handle arrival and dismissal. And we would train them, coordinate with them. They would provide, one of the things that I've done many times is meet with those crossing guards in field, ask them how communications are going, and get an understanding of operationally what it's like on the ground every day. But that is the idea, is that they would be a permanent part of the school and a permanent part of the operational charge of the school.
Okay. So these also need to be very clearly outlined.
Yeah.
Every component has to be clearly outlined.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something, part of this was a series of circumstances, to discuss with DOT and the BSA.
Mr. Williams, we're losing you. Need to come
sound.
closer to the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Come
Sorry.
closer to the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Very low, Mr. Williams.
Can't hear you now at all.
No, you're muted. Go ahead.
Any
No.
better?
Yeah.
Yeah, better,
Okay. All right. I'm gonna
better.
Nobody's freezing now. So,
Uh-oh, Mr. Williams.
yeah.
Okay, I think Mr. Williams is having some technical difficulties. Do one of you want to pick up?
So Chair, can I suggest maybe briefly we switch over to architectural issues, of which there's a few. Mr. Friedman can discuss those, and hopefully by then we can fix the technical issue.
Sure.
Okay. Good afternoon.
thank you so much for all your staff and the board's hard work on this application. It's much appreciated. Just a couple of things. As Kevin said, we have no problem changing the closing of the street between 7 to 6. We'll take care of that on the plans. As regard to the chair asked about the refrigerated refuse on page 13, it's there next to the elevator. So it is on the plan on page 13. With regard to the lobby, we can get rid of it. We'll just, there's no reason it's left over from the original design of the building. However, the Lula elevator is required as a second means of egress for handicapped persons. So I have to leave it there. The building department is going to require it for me.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll get rid of we'll make a minimal entrance. And you remember there's a staircase going down. So because of the different levels of 63rd Street and 62nd Street, so we'll minimize the size of that lobby.
Yeah, and you can maybe add that to your part of your classroom or something that is more needed for your faculty and other things.
Correct. That's what we'll take care of. We'll eliminate the seating area on the third floor, the small seating area on 63rd Street. That's not a problem. Trash pickup, we will consult with everybody and make sure that it will be on 63rd Street, and we'll find out the hours. We'll revise and coordinate the statement of facts, findings, plans, and the safety. Everything will be, at this point, we'll coordinate everything, all the changes that went in, and make sure everything is in tip-top shape.
Okay. Just in terms of, I mean, this is a comment that we are getting from DOT on trash enclosure, and some of our reviews of recent schools. We have noticed that where the trash is stored and hours that they're picked up does become an encumbrance, not only for the school's own pickup. In this case, if you do it on 63rd, it will be less, but it does become a nuisance for the other businesses or other users of that sidewalk. So, and that is why I'm asking for very detailed timing of pickup of trash enclosure, especially Fridays, because I know school is closed on Saturday. So Friday evening, if this trash is going to be dropped off, it shouldn't be dropped off at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 12 o'clock when the school closes, for it to stay till when the pickup is going to be at 7 p.m. That's a long duration, especially during summertime. That's a long duration for food to be kept for that period. It really, the window of the trash located on the street needs to be kept to a minimum so that it's not a health, safety, and nuisance for the neighbors. So with that in mind, please put together your operational plan.
And just
Understood.
Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
I just wanted to comment on the size of the room. It appears to be quite small for the population intended. So some explanation, maybe it's in there. Please direct me to where it might be explained.
Last section is a whole trash calculation and how we figured it, and I'll be happy to go over it. But if you take a look, Commissioner, you'll see we always do that, and we do it to a very reasonable, and we leave enough space in there to allow for the longest possible trash strike the New York City ever had, which was, I believe, 14 pickups. And so we have at least that much.
Is there a compactor in the room?
There isn't. It wasn't needed in this case.
Okay.
I think here the food comes prepared from outside and it's only heated on the site. No preparation is happening. So that reduces also the amount of trash that is being collected here. Am I correct?
I have to double check because we do have a kitchen here, 2 kitchens, and I believe that some of the food may be prepared here.
Oh,
on site. We have to check with the rabbi. I haven't looked at that report since February. I'm sorry.
That's what I kind of gathered from the reading, but because
I have to go back and double check exactly what.
One of the issues that you have with the existing school is that food is brought from outside, and because there is such a small area, often the children are fed cold food because you don't have enough time to heat up the food and the turnover is so high. So based on that, I assume food is prepared, all you're doing is heating, comes prepared, and all you're doing is you're heating it up and serving the children. If it's incorrect, please correct it and be consistent throughout all the documents.
Just as a side note, the new community facility and processing on 17th Avenue, which is adjacent to our building, that is a kitchen and food preparation for Bobbins, for one of the other schools. So maybe we'll talk to them to deliver the food to us also.
Okay, so you might be getting your food from there. That's great.
We'll go through it with the rabbi and we'll see, we'll make the optimal way of doing this.
Okay. Okay.
Chair, would you like me to?
Yes, please. Yes, we were.
My apologies for getting
we were
moved
waiting
there.
for you to reconnect.
I appreciate it.
Commissioner
okay.
Otley Brown, sorry, hold on. Commissioner Otley Brown has a question.
Is a clarification. When you were saying that when the students are granted permission to walk, you make a cell phone call to the crossing guard to ensure that the crossing guard has oversight over that student?
Commissioner, can you move the mic to you?
So, okay, so did you hear what I had just said?
Can you say it again, Commissioner?
Sure, I think you said that when the school grants permission to a student to walk, they're then calling the crossing guards to alert them to the fact that there will be a student who's walking that day. Does that mean that the 2% of students who are granted permission is constantly in flux because it's really only in an exceptional situation? Or is it that the school designates at the beginning of the year, these 12 students or 13 students are going to be walkers every day?
Yeah, so we just discussed this nuance, and I think there's been some back and forth, but I've seen materials from the existing school and discussed with the rabbi that the policy of the school is that everybody takes the bus. Now, there are folks that live within a block from here. So I think we need to discuss internally whether there are one or two people that would in fact walk where it seems patently unreasonable for them to take the bus. But the general policy is that all students take the bus, and that, yes, there's a daily influx, and it, could be one or two, the 2% was really meant as a max based on their experience. There could be a handful of people that are, have doctor's appointments that come late, and their parents need to call in advance, and safety personnel are notified in the morning when this occurs, and they're given the student name and proceed, operationally from there to expect a certain amount of student traffic, at the beginning of every day or at the end of the day if somebody needs to depart early. So but I do agree there's some confusion. So I think what we have to do is I have to discuss with the rabbi, about exactly what the policy is. If it's like 10 plus absentees or late arrivals, we'll describe that. But my understanding right now is that it is simply for late or earlier departures related to out of school appointments.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so there are 5 things that the chair noted. One was this has to be recorded as a restricted declaration. We understand, and we'll work with you should we be afforded the opportunity to prepare that. Not sure if 2 years is adequate. We understand at least full build out, at the discretion of the board. We're willing to do this monitoring plan and coordinate with the BSA in whatever manner they proceed. We'll recommend something, but obviously a couple of things, a detailed auditing plan. So, we're currently doing a multi-year process with another school. That one is a little bit looser, but no less intensive. The idea is you have a school safety coordinator, you have your crossing guards, you have your safety personnel accorded as a group, and they basically daily evaluate the operations going on and record that information and put out notifications to staff and students in newsletters, so that you're not just sitting on your operations, you're in a constant improvement status. as a part of that, day one, first day of operations, I'm out in the field with staff, recording operations during arrival and dismissal, discussing with the safety coordinator, discussing with the crossing guards how operations can improve. I indicated two periods during the auditing process or post-approval monitoring, and that really does not mean one period to go out and observe. There are a couple of schools that I'm doing where I stop by every other month, if not every other week, just to see how operations are going and make my recommendations to them, casually. Here, we absolutely agree. 4 periods at a minimum. We're not going to haggle with the board. It's just totally reasonable at the beginning of the semester, the end of the semester, and have ongoing communications, in the interim. Prior to the semester starting, we will provide an auditing protocol, which will describe what we're monitoring, how we're documenting it, what recommendations, things that are have been done incorrectly that need to be cured. And we would present that to the board. Now, one of the questions is, do you want a monitoring report, say, 30 days after that first monitoring, or do you want it at the end of the semester? That's currently how we're doing it now, as we're doing an annual report on another school. But again, totally flexible on how the board, given their workload and their requirements, how they would like to receive that. But we're certainly agreed to do in-field, monitoring twice a semester. No conditions to be modified without BSA approval, 100%. And one of the other things that's important to that is we put in certain stipulations in the resolution. If there are changes to the way that students arrive, critical aspects of the arrival and departure, that would obviously color the safety plan and the grant. And we understand that, that part of the citing of the affording a special permit here is based on certain operational requirements or unique aspects of the school, such as using school buses. So one of the things that, you ask, are other schools in similar circumstances? If you remember the 39th Street Brooklyn Prospect project, so they're located on a truck route. They have very different circumstances, probably much higher ambient traffic and congestion. They also have a lot of drivers and pedestrians as well as transit riders. So that has a very detailed, staggered plan. We originally deployed private safety personnel along the street. Then it was converted to internal safety personnel. They now have a whole safety oversight for 2 grade levels. That school's, I think, around 800 students, 650 students, something like that, 650 students. For a lower grade level and an upper grade level safety administrator, we do actually in-field vehicular traffic counts and safety recommendations. Their safety personnel or auditor, their internal safety manager who does their daily audits, puts out a newsletter monthly, does pre-school start orientation. It's in their manual on how to operate at the site. And that school has worked marvelously from a standpoint of evaluating, over 20 public schools that are operated in New York City. That charter school is operating in a complicated environment in a very good way. So that's probably one of the most recent examples where a post-approval plan has been afforded. As well, very good relationship with the adjacent tenants there, have indicated that the operations has significantly improved in that neighborhood, is the latest communication. What started as a difficult change that had a lane reversal, if you remember, a parking lane reversal, which significantly changed operations on that corridor, led some initial issues with neighbors, but then they saw how effectively they were managing their operations, and now are very, very supportive. Okay, so let's see. So Commissioner Sabetta, he opined on the quarterly versus twice a year. We're fine to do the quarterly. Commissioner Otley Brown, recognized that 98% of bus takers, the staff needs to be present to usher students in and out, and they absolutely will. We have 3 accorded. That's required. If I observe that in the field not being not being deployed, that would be a significant red flag, for me. And that's one of the things to audit, is to make sure that that's in place, and whether or not, more or additional staff are required to manage the flow. And then I did discuss the 2% of walkers. And then the other point, violators should have walk privilege revoke. And I would say if we do, so something needs to happen if parents don't call in, and have their, are not notifying the school that their child is late for a doctor's appointment. We'll have to determine, what that violation could be. But obviously this is a religious family, and one that takes, the safety of their students very seriously. So I'll discuss with the rabbi. Obviously, if we do flex to having a certain number of limited students within proximity to the site, we could absolutely institute a revoke of walk privileges for those folks that are being afforded that opportunity. So we will provide that in our revised, detailed operational safety plan. Then let me hop to Commissioner Shetta's comments. So if he asked about the seats in the buses, and he did that correct, 78. Yeah, agreed. Proposed monitoring plan has to be strictly implemented. We need to make sure that the number of students that are walking, and we will document that in our monitoring plan, stick to the amount that we've identified, and note any alterations of that historical average and operational average at this site. I agree, Commissioner Shetta, with the, and I actually do appreciate this sort of nuance about using the word maximize. Yes, the point is to ensure student safety, and we will make sure that that is modified. I also did want to note that the anecdote that you mentioned about discussion of the plan, that sentence actually says discussion of the plan for purposes of identifying a safety and arrival and dismissal protocol. So maybe a poor choice of words. It wasn't really meant as a discussion. It was meant as our review of the plan and the operational plan in order to accord a safety, approach. But I'll tighten that language up, because obviously this involves the safety of students, and we don't want to be willy-nilly with our language.
Mr. Williams, I'm sorry if you understood that I'm trying to intervene with your language.
You were talking about
that.
I don't think he was meaning that.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is you have the right to keep the discussion section in place, but we need a recommendation section.
Yeah, and absolutely. To the point of the chair there, this is meant as a response to DOT, and kind of an elaboration, a response to their questions with the context of the plan. So we'll provide you a full, true dyed-in-the-wool operational safety plan. Absolutely. With recommendations. Yeah.
Right?
I'm sorry, say again?
It's going to be like a stand-alone document.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and these documents will have to stand up because they will be also integrated into the restrictive deck. These would be all
Precisely.
incorporated into the, so.
Yeah.
May I ask you about the training for the staff that's going to handle the arrival and dismissal protocol?
Yes.
What kind of training they're going to get, and what kind of certification as well?
So the certification is USTAA certification. It's the same certification that DOT has requested in prior discussions. So that's American Traffic Safety Services Association. It's really the only certification out there for crossing guards and for pedestrian safety personnel. It's the same thing that was afforded or requested for staff to be crossing guards at 39th Street. And that there's a series of things, that they'll be trained in. So there'll be in-field training. There are a series of, basically a group session with professional safety trainers. It's generally done by video nowadays. I think it's 6 hours of training, but I can provide more details, on this. But this, generally this is the same thing that NYPD police officers also use, who are courted as pedestrian, crossing guards, so the same type of training that they're afforded.
Understood. But this is not a site-specific training. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and that is absolutely critical because, you know, just because you learn the basics of how to sort of view your environment and care for, you know, the children that are moving through that environment, you know, every location is different. And that is one of the things that I think it's important that professional training related to school operations, and that I'm present and other staff members that we work with on pedestrian safety are present, you know, prior to the school starting, you know, demonstrate what to observe, how to handle certain circumstances, how to communicate with a team, because it's just something that we saw with a private pedestrian safety operator that handles events like, you know, baseball games and parking lots and that sort of thing that New York City has. And there are a few private operators that do school operations for crossing guards, but, you know, from environment to environment, they're very, very different, which is one of the reasons why I don't recommend private operators. You know, that they have a certain method of doing it. They don't have necessarily a personal stake in the children's safety. And when somebody's out there every day and understands, you know, how the students that they've lived with for many years behave, you know, they have all the variables that are needed for the safe arrival of the children. So I think the point that you're intimating is not only to have this basic level of training, but to have it applied at the site level and at the operational level. And we will detail that that's what we're going to do in our detailed standalone plan.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. I think I got those. Yeah, so we'll certainly tighten up the letter and commitment. Yeah, and the letter was really meant to be an outline of correspondence. So the point is, we will provide a new freestanding safety plan and a commitment letter, sort of summarizing those elements. Again, we do agree, Shetta, I think you were, you know, every 3 months. I think semesters kind of full, you know, about 4 months. So we'll do 2 per semester, and then we'll have a report finding that we'll present and, you know, be available for comment and review. So Commissioner Yoon, I agree. I've been out at the site and I truly appreciate your going out and observing it. This is one of the things when I was first approached on this job, I took a very detailed look, and the key differentiator, as the board notes here, is the busing. And, you know, for those few walking students, the other key differentiating aspect is this is on the end of the block, is adjacent to residential, connects to a very safe corridor with wide streets that, you know, walks through an institutional area into residential. And, you know, the particular frontage of the building is currently, you know, occupied by adjacent uses. You know, all of that will be corrected, but that is why we're basically reducing this window of arrival. But I've seen what you've seen. My concerns are what you concerned. You know, I've walked up and down this corridor with the rabbi, and, you know, I believe, given the certain circumstance that we have present and the plan that's forthcoming, that we'll be able to limit all interaction with those. And obviously, the other critical aspect, you know, in the special permit is not to interfere with business operations, which is one of the other reasons why we have this significant stagger. Is when you have 4 or 5 buses are operating, or you have private cars coming, or you have pedestrians, or you have all 3 of those coming at one time, that is a recipe for difficulty, particularly in an environment like this. Here, where we've limited, you know, no private car operations coming, bus staggered one at a time in front of the site, you know, that can be maneuvered down the corridor and not obstruct adjacent businesses. And the fact that they don't have to worry about pedestrians, again, going through those operations is meant as a direct reinforcement and protection of the industrial interests that are present in the area. So I just did want to note that. I think you had seen in one of the exhibits, you know, 5 buses will arrive kind of at once, but there will be no 5 buses, you know, and it will be very transparent in the safety plan that 1 bus is a time. If I have to adjust the stagger and the bus arrival protocol to strictly dovetail that with the number of buses per grade level per time period, we'll make that adjustment.
Thank you. As you said, the logic behind the grouping of buses and the timeframes in which they're coming, and maybe a further delineation of how you will control them coming one at a time. Because from the chart as it stands, the chair had some questions and I had some questions. And so we're going to need a lot more specifics as you referenced, but I also want to reiterate, we need to know where the buses are going to go. If there's a bus there, especially if the 63rd Street, or because the 63rd Street loading zone will be gone, if there is some reference made to the 17th Avenue neighbor and a relationship and a potential partnership for loading. So I think that this needs to be explored just because of the limited frontage that you have and the number of buses that you are going to have it. Even within a 30-minute window, you know, there are delays.
Yeah.
There are going to be moments where you're going to need a layover space.
Yeah.
And all of that and the backup situations need to be addressed so that we know that there is a solution for those inevitable occurrences.
Yeah,
And
good,
then
good.
a couple of questions, if this is a good time to interrupt.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reference to the school safety coordinator who is named or designated as Rabbi Shay Singer. But you know, the duration of arrival and dismissal time spans almost 12 hours throughout the day. And so is there a provision for backup or safety administrators, or is this person going to be expected to be there every day, 6 days a week across all of this time? Maybe that's what the plan, but I think there should be some provision for multiple people who are trained to act in that role.
So Commissioner Yoon, great question. And that's precisely what's provided in a previous plan that we did before the board. And absolutely, I don't think Rabbi Singer, I think the idea is that you have somebody who's kind of an executive overview, but there's somebody that's accorded on the ground every day that's like the deputy that runs the functional operations in the field. And then again, there's redundancy to that individual. The one thing I was saying to Rabbi is, even though that we're according 3 safety personnel on the street to monitor the zone, we might want to consider training 6 or 9 or 12 staff members that can be used interchangeably. Also, and this is absolutely something that's going to be provided in terms of a staffing plan, because what we will probably do, given the duration, is subdivide their responsibilities. There will be an hour 1 for the upper grade levels, and you know, hour 2 maybe a separate administrator for that time period that's more accorded to the loading and unloading characteristics associated with young children, and you know, how they get in from the school and out of the school and vice versa, you know, into the classroom. That whole process is part of the departure and arrival, you know, from the classroom to the curb, or to the waiting area to the curb. All of that will be described and agreed. We will provide full redundancy and backup, named individuals where required, and a detailed description of their responsibilities.
Okay, thank you. I think that obviously the key here is going to be an operational plan that clearly accounts for contingencies, because it can't fail. That's the only way this school could possibly work. So contingencies considered and how that's going to be staffed. I had another question. Are crossing guards always stationed during arrival and dismissal times, or how are they deployed?
So that's the original assumption. But I do think if nobody calls in during the day, they wouldn't be deployed during arrival and dismissal. But I would say this pretty much every day, there are going to be a handful of students. I think that's what the data has shown historically. That's what the rabbi has indicated, you know, so unless, you know, something completely unexpected happens and there are no students that have logged in for that. Having said that, if it's, you know, to the deference of the board that they be deployed out of an abundance of caution, you know, we would certainly do that. And then obviously, I think we would evaluate the day-to-day statistics. We could get a log that shows like how many walkers there are per day, you know, based, you know, during the monitoring period, and present that back to the board and indicate, well, we had, you know, 20 days out of the school year where there were no students, and we would make adjustments to that. But I think right now, particularly in the first year, you know, and until we gather all the representative data for this location, I think it's safest to assume that those guards would be deployed every day.
But that would be circumstantial based on a phone call to the school safety administrator?
Yes, I mean, that is the procedure. Like any school at this point, you're supposed to call in and tell them you're arriving late. That's pretty much in every student handbook. But again, yes, that is, subject to.
I understand. I think what I'm
yeah.
looking for is a very clear understanding of what you're proposing for the operational plan. Because it is constantly said that bus usage is encouraged, and then it said students must notify, there's a lot of gaps where I'm not sure exactly when what is happening, and in the next submission, it needs to be watertight.
Yeah, I think there's differences between the Friedman's operational plan that they originally prepared and the arrival and safety plan, and that the two and the statement of facts all need to read the same, because it does state in the arrival and dismissal plan that all students are required to take the bus, and then underneath that it talks about registering for illnesses and that sort of thing as an alternative. But we will make sure this is very consistent and follows through all the documentation and addresses precisely those concerns, whether all the and as right now, as I said, all these crossing guards are assumed and will be in the plan required to be deployed on a daily basis. At the end of the year, if the data it gives some indication that this might be warranted a change, we would present this to the board, and it would be subject to their determination, as the chair indicated, whether or not to modify the operational agreement or plans, accordingly. But I understood, Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Williams, as always, you do a very thorough review of all our comments, and it seems you have all kind of preempted some of our follow-up questions by answering them. And I understand, I'm appreciative of the fact that you are taking our comments, everybody in the team, seriously and finding a solution. So, and the suggestions that you have made, I think they are good suggestions that you're making, and I hope your further discussions with your team can result in that outcome, so that we can formalize it.
Thank you.
Okay. Since we do have our fire department chief here, and I just want to make sure that the roof plan as laid out currently, and I don't know, Chief Raymond, if you had the chance to review the plan. If not, we'll share it with you, but I do want to make sure that the roof layout with regards to fire egress and the play area will be in accordance with the fire code.
You guys hear me today?
Yeah, you can speak.
Yes, please go ahead.
I looked at the roof layout. The roof layout is adequate. Yeah.
It is adequate. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. The other question I had, do you need those 3 sets of staircases?
Yes, we do. It's just for moving around. It's a long building, and for the children moving around the building, we really do need those 3 sets of staircase. It doesn't work dismissal and coming and going, lunchroom, synagogue.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Okay, any other questions or comments? I thought this was a very detailed and a thorough response to the comments that we have received.
Just that I found the trash calculation on page 120 of the very long programmatic needs document. So thank you.
Yes, Ms. Friedman has set the bar for programmatic needs, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a great team. I cannot say it's not me. It's we have a great team.
I'm sure. Okay, any other questions? If not, let's go to, do you have any other questions, Mr. Lobel, your team? Do you have any questions for us, or we can go to the public then?
Yeah, I don't think we have other questions unless anyone's piping in. Nope, we're good.
Okay, let's go to the public then.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing, sorry, the case that we're currently discussing is 2024-10BZ, 1679 63rd Street, Brooklyn. Should anyone wish to comment on this application, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-614-0807 and the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application.
Okay. How much time will you need to put this information together?
Yeah, given the amount of work that needs to be done in terms of the school safety plan and operations, I'll defer to Kevin, and I'm assuming that Moish, unless he tells me otherwise, would be able to finish his work within that time. So Kevin?
Yeah, I would say a minimum of 30 days. It can probably be done faster, but I think that's reasonable for us.
I do want you to take your time to make sure you have so many documents. I want to make sure everything is in sync and
Right.
everything. You have put in a lot of thought, but a lot of questions have been raised. So please fold them all in perfectly. So the next hearing we have is in October and the other one is in November. And given that we are getting into the religious holiday period, so that makes October a little bit tight. I think the first November hearing is more reasonable, but I leave that up to you.
And
So-
Chair, may I ask the team as well, like, are there open environmental seeker items? I heard
That's
something
for Ms.
earlier.
Benke.
Ms.
Yeah,
Benke?
regarding DEP, yeah.
Yes, we do have we're waiting for a response to air quality and noise comments as well as hazmat.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that will be in November.
Think that would be enough?
So Mr. Friedman, so November 5th, 6th is, the submission date would be 10/16, and that's a Wednesday or Thursday, not a Tuesday, because that Tuesday is a holiday. For the 17th, 18th of November would be a submission date of October 30th.
Do the later one. Because of the holiday, yeah, do the later one.
Later one, October 30th, 17, 18?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
that will make sure that we can get stitch everything together.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a request? I always like it when the Friedmans provide a cover letter with all of the changes in all of the documents. That's a great summary of all the changes, but it is easier for me personally in the statements, in the programmatic needs, and in the safety plans that we get a clean and a track changes copy, just so I don't have to go through the entire 500 pages over again. That would be really helpful here.
As well.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does make it a lot easier with a track change.
Okay. So
Understood.
I don't need to do the cover letter?
No, still do the cover letter.
We'll do it all.
That is very helpful, but I also would like it, especially the statements.
Yeah,
but-
and I think especially this project, because we have had so much of history and it has changed over time, it would be very helpful to have the traction so that we can clearly go to the focus. And there's so much material on this. I want to make sure I've looked through everything. Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I cannot close because I do need to see the submissions that is going to be made to make sure it meets, unless the commissioners, the board.
No closing today.
Okay,
no.
yeah, that's what I kind of figured, but
Yeah.
that is my opinion. So please do make a really good submission. And I think you, with Mr. Williams, who has really seemed to have understood our concerns, and Mr. Friedman, please put a perfect package, and we will hear this at the November 17th, 18th hearing. If you need, am I shooting myself by adding one extra week? no, this is a very complex, I do need more time to review this. So do please
Yeah,
submit
'cause
it
the
by
holidays
30th.
coming
Yeah,
up.
this is going to be a very serious review on our part.
Understood.
Yeah, not that we are not serious about the other ones, but this is a,
You don't have to, this is a complicated
okay, yeah.
application.
We need
so,
time
yeah.
to review it. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Next item is new cases, item number 19, 2025, 11 BZ, 1681, 1683, 42nd Street, Brooklyn. As we had said earlier, we will call 2024 18 BZ last. So, Mr. Goldstein?
where is, he's already in the room?
Yes.
No, I am. Yes. How are you?
Anyone
Yeah,
with you, Mr. Goldstein?
Just me today.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jay Goldstein on behalf of the applicants. We listened to the review session this morning. I'd like to review the comments with the board, and then I believe we'll just submit them in our responses in writing. We'll confirm the mezzanine heights in the section so that everything matches, and we'll also confirm the heights to Commissioner Shetta's point to see, one, the spaces that are there, if they're occupiable and how tall the ceilings are, but also if there's any possibility of utilizing that mezzanine space. So we'll do that with our analysis and submission. We'll expand the chart and explain our methodology for the expected and the proposed growth of the school and how we arrived at our numbers. We will the indoor trash area will give a proposal for the operational plan for the storage within the building and removal to the street before pickup, as well as an arrival and dismissal plan showing the staggered manner of arrival and dismissals. We again, we'll to Commissioner Shetta's points, we will explain the growth chart and how we arrived at those numbers, and we'll analyze the mezzanine. And we did have an engineer reviewing the plans to determine the feasibility of the enlargement. Happens to be my father, but I'll put on my plans that we take and the BSA takes no responsibility for that, and that it's required DOB approval and review. Then to Commissioner Yoon, I'll provide the charts as mentioned for the operational plan and for the growth, and then we will analyze if we can reduce the floor to ceiling heights at the upper floors, and we'll add the details and some articulation at the facades to break up the massing. And we note the Avenue T case that we brought, and we'll attempt to provide something here that provides some relief to the neighbors.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
And the structural evaluation of the building, please add a note.
Yeah, I mentioned I take no responsibility for my father's work. I'll add a note to the plan saying that the board is not reviewing or approving anything.
Yeah.
I see from the section that the intention is to construct concrete slabs similar to what's existing. I would say that for a building like this, I anticipate that the main structural support is coming from the wall bearing system, which is the walls on the perimeter. I believe these kind of walls, the footings underneath them, be kind of tiny based on like tons of buildings that I looked at in Manhattan and in the city. If you can consider a lighter framing system, structural system, I believe that would be helpful in looking into the structural integrity of the building after the enlargement. This is just an advice if you want to take
I
it.
will pass along your comments, no
you.
problem.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's go to the public. And yeah, go ahead. Then
I'm waiting for Jella to put the screen up.
Raymond.
Good afternoon. The board is currently discussing the calendar number 2025 11 BZ 1681 1683 42nd Street, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment on this case, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-614-0807 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press star 9 to raise your hand, star 6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone in order to be heard. And if you are in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application.
Mr. Goldstein, actually, is Chief Raymond, our fire department represent Chief Raymond here? In the
Yeah,
room?
he's there.
I'm in here.
Okay, Ms. Goldstein, I don't have the plan in front of me. Please remind, you're going to use a rooftop play area?
1 second, I will check. My computer's not responding. Hold on.
I just want to make sure fire department is okay with the configuration in terms of the fire egress from the roof.
Yeah, we're proposing to utilize it as a roof. We have a 6-foot clear fire department access all the way around. Oh, I don't know if it's appropriate now. There's one point from Commissioner Yoon that I didn't address. So I can address it now or.
Yes, please do.
We heard the point regarding the parapet and the railing, and we'll endeavor to make it a lesser imposing addition at the roof.
Okay,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
thank you.
I also, Avenue T has 11-foot floor to floors. So unless there's some extenuating circumstance here, you would have to show, I guess, justify
Yeah.
need more.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure, Chief Raymond, you had the opportunity to review the plan and if you had any comments on the.
Yes. I had no comment on the plan. The plan looks fine. We might say something about the existing condition on the roof, but that's something that we haven't had a chance to check yet.
Okay. But the existing roof condition is not before us because that's subject to change. So that I think is a discussion you may want to have separately with Mr. Goldstein.
Sure.
Okay, are we on the clock?
Done.
Oh, we are done. Okay, how much time, Mr. Goldstein, you need?
What is the submission schedule for that 1st November hearing?
October 16th.
I think the next one is probably safer.
October
This is
30th.
17th.
October 30th, so that's
No,
17th.
the November 17, 18 hearing, yeah.
Yeah, that's October 30th.
Okay,
Okay,
okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, is Ms. Fuller there?
Yeah, I hope so.
the room?
I hope she's in the room. Yeah,
She
hey,
is?
hands up.
Okay, all right. Let's call in that case.
Item number 18, 2024 18BZ 15805 Union Turnpike, Queens.
Hi, how are you? We have with us Josh Herman. If you see him, there
Okay.
should be a Tom Whitney. There should be a Stefan
Don't,
Andriatos.
Stefan what?
Andriatos.
I don't see
don't
him.
see.
He might join later. He doesn't really need to necessarily speak. He's the owner.
Adam?
No.
What?
Adam also.
And then there should be a Corey Bertram, but he's might have to call in from another location. I gave him a few options.
Yeah,
And
I
he,
don't see him either.
yeah, I texted him, so he can also speak at the end. We can deal with the other comments first.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
He's from Starbucks. You've spoken to him on other applications.
okay.
Okay.
I don't see Josh Herman yet.
Okay, well, Josh is important for the beginning.
Yeah, I thought I let him in.
Oh, his hand is
I
still up.
have let him in. I'm,
Jordan.
yeah.
Okay. And there's a Preston White from yesterday, and I guess he's maybe a neighbor. I don't know. Yeah, could be.
And who else? We have Josh Herman, Ellis, and who
And
else?
Thomas Whitney is on, I see, but he's on mute.
And Thomas Whitney. Okay.
Okay, can you unmute and visual? Put your video, camera on, can't even speak English. Okay.
I'm here.
So those are the three, right? Yourself and these other two parties, and the other two are,
Yeah, and then Corey is the other person I really want to speak, but if he comes on while we're speaking, I'm texting him right now. He was kind of on the road, so.
okay, because I need to swear you in. Okay, so let's swear you three in. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session, Ms. Fullader.
Thank you. Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik PC. Thank you so much. We listened to your comments this morning. I think I want to take the easiest one first. We heard the comment about lighting, not more than 2-foot candles. And Tom would like to just confirm the language. So either if we could do that.
I know there has been a little bit of back and forth on the language. We will send revised language. And that you can put that. And there are two sentences to it. And
Okay.
And just so you know, we updated very recently the drawing set guidelines on our website.
Okay.
Have the correct language. So there was some back and forth, and then we've just uploaded the newest version of that PDF a couple weeks ago.
Okay, no problem. So we'll also check that out and that should help. And we can use that going forward. I'll send that to people. Thank you. Also, I just heard from Corey, he's coming on shortly. Next, I want to go to Josh because I think a lot of the comments were for Josh and he can explain to you this, and we can share the site plan as necessary, or Josh, you can, whatever is easier for your commentary.
Yes, so I'm actually going to, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for the time. I am going to share my screen and just pull up the plans for ease of discussion.
The 646 number.
Okay.
Corey says he's here, but he's muted. Can someone?
It's 646 number?
Probably, because he
Yeah.
says, I said hi, it says muted.
do you let him in?
He's in, yeah.
He's in? Okay.
Yeah, I see it's
Can
in,
we
but it's
just
not.
give a second and swear him in, and then Josh can say?
Yeah, and then, because I wanted to do that before Josh got into it.
What is it, *6?
You want to give him the instructions from meeting again?
It's *6 to unmute,
It's
right?
*6. It's *6 to unmute.
Here we go.
Is he there?
Press star
Corey
6
here.
to-
He's there.
Okay.
He's there.
Okay.
Okay, so I just have to swear you in, because obviously he's calling the phone, I can't see visual. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
And
Okay.
full name is?
So Corey,
Name
Josh
for
is,
the record?
sorry. I'm sorry. State your name, Corey. I screwed that up.
Hi, Corey Bertram.
Okay,
So Corey, we're gonna go back to Josh. He's gonna go and explain the traffic comments, and then we'll deal with your comments right after that.
Wonderful.
Sorry, Josh, back to you.
Thank you. So I am just going to share my screen with the plans now, please. Can everyone see my screen?
not yet. There we are.
Now we do.
Now we do.
Okay. Okay, so there was a comment or a question earlier about the whether the site has actually 13 or 14 vehicle queue storage for the drive-through lane, and definitely comment understood about this 14th vehicle that is in front of the driveway. There is one thing that I did want to point out here, that the vehicles shown are 22 feet between, from the back bumper of one vehicle to the back bumper of another vehicle. So that's, the average car is around 16 feet. Like a Toyota Camry is approximately 16 feet long. So that provides, 6 feet between vehicles. And so, this is a very conservative assessment when we lay out these vehicles, but really we would expect that vehicles are queuing closer together than shown. So that 14th vehicle would likely be, further into the queue as opposed to what's shown here on the plans. And that's just based on, standards that exist here in the city. So that's one point. But our queuing analysis memo that we prepared and submitted does show that we would expect the maximum queue to be approximately 13 vehicles long. So we would expect that the queue storage that's on the site would sufficiently accommodate maximum queue.
Okay. All right. All right. And I noticed you have added the no left turns for both the exit ways. That's good. And so tell me what's going to happen with all the 16 spaces? Not all 16 are going to be used. So what's going to happen with the, how would that space be utilized for the, during peak period? And I think this is where probably Mr. Corey comes in.
Yeah, I think Corey, we have more spaces than are required. We have 16, but if you'd like to speak on how that's being used and like safety and how the board, how Starbucks, deals with queuing and overflow and what they are and are not willing to do based on safety.
Yeah, so we're asking what we're using the parking for.
Yeah, so we have more spaces so that they talked about potentially using, because we have additional spaces, maybe they wouldn't all be utilized and they could use them for line busting, but we spoke on the phone about that being a safety risk. So I just wanted you
Yeah.
to.
The Starbucks right now, we've gone through a transition where our goal is to get more of our customers to come inside our stores. So we've made a commitment. If you follow the news, I'll give you the high level of it. Starbucks' quarterly profit last quarter that was publicly released was down 47 million, even though our comp was up. And that was 100% due to an increase in labor in our stores. So our new CEO has taken the point of adding labor versus trying to utilize the existing team to manage the stores and their sales. So what we've done is added labor to the stores and made a commitment that all cafe and drive-through orders will be ready within 4 minutes. That's how we build the queue. That's why our menu board is positioned at the 7th car where it is, to make sure our employees have the right amount of time to get a beverage ready and have it at the window for you when you're ready. That's why we want cafes now. That's why we want seats inside and parking, is to encourage our customers to come back inside as well. Starbucks does not put employees outside, so we consider it a big safety risk. I know other QSRs do it, and it's asked a lot, and it's not something that we do. We never have employees outside. They don't run food to cars. They don't manage drive-through lanes. We're solving that internally by additional labor inside the store to prepare our orders.
And sorry, go ahead.
How do you encourage customers to come into the store? How are you going to entice them back into the store?
Threw away 30,000 seats. We told customers not to come in anymore. Our new CEO thinks that was a mistake, and I happen to agree with him. So we've added back seats. We're renovating our comfortable. We've added outlets back. We're serving coffee in cups that you can sit in our store. So we're doing it in that way, and we're seeing it work, where customers are to work their coffee versus using drive.
We're losing you.
We're losing you, yeah. And what is the hour they said? That
Corey.
commitment? No, what is their commitment? That they'll have the drive-through turnover in how many minutes?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
From order to get your drink.
Yeah.
Ms. Fullader, Mr. Andretos is in the room.
Oh, yeah, he can come in. I don't know if he'll have to say anything, but.
And is the Nick Anathasos part of my?
I don't know a Nick. Well, I do, but not.
Okay, all right. Okay. Ms. Andretos, if you want to come in, raise your hand. Move, which one? Okay. We still can't hear,
Corey.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for more questions. I know, Elise and I talked, and
Oh, here he is.
if it was a stipulation to have someone outside, it's not something that we agree to.
Okay. Madam Chair, he's back. He's back, Madam Chair. So
Maybe you can start by repeating what you were saying in response to Commissioner Otley Brown's question about how you're enticing people to come back into the store, because your connection broke up.
Oh, sure. We're renovating our stores to make them really more welcoming. Putting more seats back in, putting outlets back in, serving coffee in a real cup. Those are the things that we're doing to encourage people to come in and sit and stay versus for years, we had wrongly pushed people to use mobile order and use drive-throughs as a way to keep moving. And that's something that we're working on reversing to bring people back into our stores.
And since I have you here, a question is this something of a feature that you're going to add to all of your Starbucks, or is it going to be at select sites?
In terms of wanting people inside?
Yeah.
Well, we want people in all of our stores, and this store being a new store, it would be designed that way, which is why it's a larger store, which is why we want the parking.
Right. Okay.
If I'm allowed to add
Why I'm
to,
asking this question, and I think Ms. Fuller senses it, because there are a lot of Starbucks that has been approved in the recent few years where these have been just standalone drive-throughs and with no seating accommodations. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any change, and will that change any of the parameters that the board had considered in its review? So Ms. Fuller, there's something for you to mull over and think and get back to us.
well, we have examples, for instance. So I think that stores that were in the middle of construction that you had approved, we filed a letter of substantial compliance recently where we put seats back in. And we didn't change the footprint of the store. We just added seats. So we have been working with Starbucks to put in seats in any stores that aren't fully built out yet.
Yep.
That's what I was wondering.
Right. Yeah, because the eating and drinking is permitted as of right. So it's just the question of the amount of parking that is being provided and the turnover, all of that is adequate in terms of the spacing within the, because I think the way it has been presented to us thus far is that the layout of the kitchen is critical in the success rate of the flow. And that became the primary space, and whatever was left over was just left over. So that's why I was asking, like, how much space do you have to accommodate a seating after that?
And I also have just a question about that. Do you anticipate that this change will convert some of the existing or proposed customers to walk-ins, or do you expect to be enticing an extra amount of customers that you haven't previously considered into going to Starbucks versus, I don't know, going to Dunkin' Donuts or something like that? So is this going to give you even more customers, or is it just shifting your present population, which actually would help you in terms of your drive-through estimations?
We build the store based on the number of people that live in the trade area and what our general conversion rate is for capturing those customers.
Is that?
I mean, I would assume that what you're saying is it's just going to be a shift of your numbers, not an amplification of your numbers.
Yeah, I mean, our stores grow every year. We want them to do more sales, but adding more seats we didn't change our sales projection with that.
Okay, thanks.
Can you show me where the menu board, the first order? So this is a question that was raised by my general counsel. I don't think this is an issue with Starbucks, unlike other places where there's a longer prep time. But okay, I see the hand. So if, let's say, somebody gets into the queue and thinks the wait time, even before the ordering, because you're saying the wait time from the time you have ordered to the time you pick up is 4 minutes is the target, but somebody's in the queue, and what if they decide that they don't want to be in the queue and they want to leave the queue? Is there an out Or is that even something that one should be concerned about in this particular operation, since it's not like your, other places where you need more time to prepare?
Yeah, we're selling coffee and pastries. We don't have that issue.
Okay. I'm just asking, would it make sense for you to provide an exit from that where you have the word says proposed asphalt for somebody to exit if they're frustrated?
Would that be, I don't have it in, I'm on the phone. Would that be through you mean going back into the parking lot?
Yeah.
Is that like car
we've tried that
number?
before. We find that causes issues with customers that pull all the way in and try to get into the drive-through that way.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be a concern about, customers who are pulling in and they just try to cut the queue by entering the drive-through at this point in time. The good point about this layout, just to also address the previous question, was that, when you're pulling into the site, you can see a majority of the drive-through queue already. So, if you think that it's going to be too long for you to wait, that would be an instance where you could, park and drive in as well. So the, bypass wouldn't necessarily be needed.
If you kind of know about how long the wait is going to be at car 14, maybe you guys might want to consider publicizing that in a way, kind of like Disney World does with its rides. Like you get to this point and it's like it's expected your wait will be 30 minutes. I mean, your wait won't be 30 minutes, but at the beginning of your queue or the end of your queue, car 14, it might be helpful to have like a little sign that says at this point the wait is 8 minutes. 14.
No, we don't do that. It's not something our brand does. We have 10,000 stores. They all operate the same way. Our customers know, and they know they know what they're getting with us.
I think
it's kind of a resistant answer.
Yeah. I honestly, I think my biggest concern is that I understand that in reality, you would be able to accommodate 14 vehicles up to that where the 13th car is. But you're showing 14 just for a numerical point of view. I do not want that. I don't want it to become a situation where the 15th car is there just because. I want that particular entryway to be free and clear. So there has to be graphically to be shown that it's a free, clear zone, no parking, nobody on the reservoir space can be there. And then add a note saying 14 vehicles to be accommodated in the drive-through from a area after the 14th, before the 14th car. So maybe there's a way to visually show where the 14 vehicles will be contained within this drive-through without showing the exact location of the 14th car as shown on the plan. And that area is like you mark it off with yellow stripes or something saying no standing or do not block or something like that. So that it's amply clear that at no point that shall be counted towards reservoir space in any way.
Okay. Tom, do you understand what she's asking? Because that's probably for you to do on a plan sheet.
Right, you're just looking for some sort of signage or possibly a pavement marking, just,
It
the
has to
equivalent
be a
of
pavement
dump
marking. It
box
has to be
kind of thing so that the curb cut stays free and clear.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk with our civil engineer and see what we can do to create something there. Corey, you wouldn't object to some signage there that urges clients not to block the curb cut, correct? That's something we should be able to do.
Yeah, I think you can even add a sign, do not block the curb cut. My reason for concern is because there's a bus stop right next to it. And there's another bus stop at the corner of Union Turnpike and Parsons. So there is quite a bit of pedestrian mobility along these sidewalks. So and given what you just said, that you are also relying on people to come in and park, and the morning rush hour is where you're going to get that biggest conflict. I want to minimize that and therefore keep that area zone clear of any vehicular it being used towards reservoir space. And if 13 is going to be adequate, that's fine. You can just leave it as 13. I think, as you said, you have taken a conservative approach, and you can probably accommodate more. And you can put that in your statement of facts.
Okay, we'll update that on the team's end, and Tom will work with you
Okay.
on this.
I just wanted to add one more point, just so you know, because it's coming up with a lot of these drive-throughs that I'm going to. That just so a lot of business is done through like mobile orders and stuff, and that is good that we have these extra parking spaces because they don't go through the drive-through, they'll pick it up at the window. So it's just something to add to, is that, these extra spaces will allow for easier delivery.
But you no longer have that walk-up window.
Or
You have just.
do they walk in? Sorry, Tom. So they walk in when they get a mobile, when you order for delivery and a bike.
If you do a mobile order, you would walk into this cafe and pick it up.
Oh, you walk in. Okay, apologies. It's not a window.
they-
You walk
yeah,
in, you don't use the drive-through portion.
Right. So that's another reason, we have these 16 spaces. It does give flexibility for that, as well as the people who are staying to enjoy the cafe.
Just wanted to add that to help show how traffic can move with these extra.
Does that work?
I think on a whole, I mean, it's probably less disruptive than having a Starbucks that doesn't have a drive-through, to be honest. In my neighborhood, we have a Starbucks without a drive-through, and we regularly double park on both sides of the street, leaving just one lane in the middle because Starbucks just has a high volume customer.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And so actually pulling people off of the street into a drive-through with parking spaces is preferable to having a standalone store with no drive-through and no parking lot. And everybody's going to come anyway. You're going to go.
Okay.
And you're going to disrupt everything in your path.
Okay. So, and reducing at least reducing the queuing of vehicles to 13 just to keep that entryway clear. Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine.
Okay. But you can clarify it in your statement of facts as to, even though you're showing 30, on average, you would be able to accommodate more than that.
No problem.
I believe 13 is listed in the queuing analysis, the spreadsheet as well.
Right, the queuing analysis does show 13, so you are meeting the queuing analysis requirement, but you can also back it up by saying in practice, it would be more.
Right. No problem. Yeah. We can add traffic findings to the statement like we've done on the last few. Josh will work with me to do that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's then go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 2024-18BZ 158-05 Union Turnpike, Queens. Should you wish to comment on this application, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the Weber ID number 161-614-080807 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press star 9 to raise your hand, star 6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized in any format, you will have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application.
One thing I also think would be helpful, just as the new Starbucks policy, if you want to add that to heighten the fact that there will be people who will be coming and sitting.
No problem.
Hi.
Corey, I'm going to ask for a letter from you probably, but I'll write you after.
Yeah, great. All right, while we are waiting for public to call in, how much time will you need? We have Nick Athanastos and Preston White. Are you a member of the public or are you a member of the applicant's team?
Sorry.
Public.
All right,
I'm assuming public because I don't know those people.
but they haven't raised their hands.
Oh.
Okay. How much time will you need to make these corrections?
I get, since I know, you're probably booked for a little while, tell us your best date and I'll tell you if that works. Cause that probably gives us a few weeks, I'm assuming.
Okay, so for October 2021 hearing, October 2nd is the submission date.
Okay. That sounds,
November
yeah.
5th, 6th, the submission date is October 16th. Now, that's a Wednesday and a Thursday, not a Monday and Tuesday. And for the 17th, 18th, it's an submission date of October 30th.
I know that, so, Josh, you don't really have to do anything big, right? Because I know you celebrate the holidays. That's
You
fine.
can let us know. You can email the project manager.
Okay, no problem. We can email the project manager. I guess, Tom, just, I'll go through the dates with you and tell me what works, because I think you have most of the work and it depends how Jewish your company is.
Okay.
I think we should be able to turn around pretty quick.
Okay, so we'll probably say the first one you said, but
will
we'll
do that.
confirm with the project manager.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna make a recommendation to close. And we will schedule the October for hearing, so close with the record open. Ms. Benke, is there any outstanding environmental?
No, just the minor changes to the traffic study. I
Okay,
believe.
all right, so then motion to close.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay, so we will look for EAS, plan, statement of fact, and do we need a revised TIS or no?
Yeah, there's no EAS on this. It's all the TIS.
Only TIS, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Traffic.
we need the final TIS.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, this concludes the public hearing for September 9th, 2025. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone have a wonderful day.
And the other two gentlemen are still in the room. If you have any comments for these applications, you may send us comments to submit@bsa.nyc.gov. Thank you.